Okay, so, where we last came into things, our party escaped on board the unnamed dropship, had some personal time, for lack of a better word, had to fight Timothy's alcoholism, and then, well, the party wasn't there, but they got to watch Timothy get beaten up. So, here we are, adrift in space, amidst a starship. One of the most boring things imaginable. What are you all doing?
So Yari is going to see if he has the supplies to make a geothermal surveillance drone.
Well,
Not
not not
geothermal,
not
but
geothermal, but a
uh,
thermal surveillance drone.
yes, my bad.
Go ahead and I'll say that with the scavenge supplies from around here, just kind of gently picking up things and making certain things disappear. Give me a engineering check.
I wouldn't take anything from anything because I've been carrying my own bag of supplies with me.
Of course.
Uh, I probably am missing good things like
A, a
motors and such.
A 13, you are missing very specific components, but you do assemble the outward frame and actually have a bit of circuitry wired into it. It's pretty janky looking, but it's a start.
Wait, are
Yeah.
you referring to that idea you and I had where it's like the fucking little quadcopter with like a thermal sensor on it?
Yes. Because that's
Cool.
actually a good idea. If we can get something that can constantly monitor things around us, that'll be a useful tool.
Yeah, that would be.
So, seeing as I'm missing parts, instead, once I realize this, I'm going to go to the bay and start buffing out some of the rusted parts on our new war machine. Not our transport, rather.
Fair enough. You devote the rest of your attention towards basically just patching up the rig.
Yeah.
What is everyone else doing?
Am I awake by this point?
Oh, you were probably awake from before.
I guess Vodka's just in the gym, just training up because there's
Fair
not really
enough.
much else to do on the ship.
I mean,
I
it
thought
was
you and I were
important.
still shooting fucking rifles by this
Yeah,
at this point.
Yeah,
but-
that's would still be like training, I guess.
Well, the reason why I was asking if I was awake or not because last session, fucking fucking
You got up after that.
Ankos's buddy knocked my ass the fuck out.
You
Yes.
specifically got up after that.
And the last thing that you said was, I start to think about what I could do with my medical supplies. Implying you are going to make lean.
What the fuck is lean?
Cough syrup,
Oh
Sprite,
my
and
God.
Jolly Ranchers.
Oh,
Your addiction has gotten... You were role-playing a drunk while you were drunk, weren't you?
yes, I was.
Yeah, no, after Uvan beat the shit out of you for not getting control of your vices, you decided, you know what, I'm gonna crank this fucking vice thing up to 11, and I'm going to make booze out of medical supplies. And that was where the session got cut.
So what is Timothy doing?
See, I don't remember that part, but if you guys said I did it,
Yes.
You can change your mind.
You,
I
you,
imagine-
you implied that you were seriously considering breaking into your medical supplies to fucking make.
You had also been hoarding fruits from the ship's commissary to
Yeah, I remember
make
that.
them into alcohol. Yeah.
So I imagine Tim Tom's like has his shit open. He's just gonna close up his stuff, and instead he's just gonna put these dehydrated fruits and these fruits into like I don't know like a 2-liter bottle, put a balloon on it, and like put something to ferment it in.
Alrighty, go ahead and make a physical science check.
I have physical science. Did it roll? No, it didn't roll.
After a bunch of rudimentary, just like strapping stuff together without any actual fermentation kits, you assemble a jury-rigged contraption. And once the process is done over the course of the day, you figure out that it will take up to 2 to 3 weeks for this to ferment, and even then, this is not going to be a good drink.
Tim Tom sets this jury-rigged component.
Not for lack of
Like-
skill, but for lack of equipment
Yeah.
and
Tim Tom
ingredients.
puts in like a corner somewhere, and like I don't know, puts a fucking like tarp over it, and just leaves the room. Or not like a tarp, but like put in a cool dark place.
Of course.
And then Tim Tom's just gonna.
Anyone
Yes.
else have anything important?
I think I could have a brief conversation with Vaku.
So I imagine that you both are still just kind of utilizing dummy rounds in the midst of the training
Yes.
bay.
Yes. I'm back, by the way.
Cool.
Fair enough.
So after Vaku pings a shot off, I'm gonna kind of like look towards him and nod to him to like put the gun down for a minute, and I'm just gonna say, so what's motivated you to take this up using sniper rifles?
Just trying to expand my repertoire of utility in combat.
It's not a weapon common where you come from.
Hmm?
Is it not a common weapon where you come from?
Not typically. Usually have more traditional weapons, a little bit of laser weapon technology.
I kind of nod my head.
Mhm.
Well, we've still got some work to do, but you seem to be learning well enough. Thankfully,
Yeah.
I was extensively trained in just about every weapon that can be used. So, I don't like to brag much, but I don't think you could find a much better teacher.
Fair enough.
Though all said, you did impress me back there with the, how you stole back all those materials Tim Tom managed to scavenge from the ship.
Skill I've learned to develop over past few years.
And, hold on a second, I need some water. I'm not sure I'd seen you do anything like that before.
That's a underutilized skill of mine to just take things from people when they're not looking.
You typically use that for good?
I typically use it just keep myself afloat.
Hard living back on your planet?
Yeah, at times.
Who taught
I
you?
mean, some. I was part of a order, a religious order that taught us subterfuge as part of our faith.
So you
But
were
grew
dedicated
dis-
to something.
Yeah,
What made you
used to be
leave?
I just got just filled with a sense of wanderlust and disillusioned by their more orthodox ways of going about things. Want to experience the world, and eventually left.
I see. What do you mean orthodox?
Very, very strict, very conservative in their teachings, and I just found myself not really jiving with what they were teaching.
No chance you're ever going back?
Likely not. Could be. We might go there at some point, but
So this is a little more than just a pilgrimage to you.
not really a pilgrimage at this point. Just a wanderer.
Well, I figured I'd just make sure that we're not gonna have to worry about you getting into too much trouble. We've already got Tim Tom to
Yeah.
worry about at this point. And it's been a concern of mine about unit cohesion lately,
That's fair.
given the way he's acting and how we have to babysit him now. Sorry, my throat is still kind of hoarse.
Oh yeah. Fucking yesterday.
Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure everybody's doing their part and is in operating condition. And if that means getting you trained in the art of this weapon, then by all means, I'm happy to do so.
Yes. Thank you.
Anyway, I just wanted to touch base. We've been at it for a minute. Why don't we take a break?
Yeah.
Besides, I'm sure these fine gentlemen, I look around at the security team, probably need to get theirs rounds in too.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you say that, the intercoms cut in on the ship, and everyone aboard can hear the simple message: will all passengers on this ship please report to the command deck?
That's concerning.
Tim Tom, I guess
Yarich
we'll go.
puts away his little laser. Have you seen the little tools that use lasers
Oh,
Little,
yeah,
to
like-
it's like a
remove?
little laser welder.
Yeah. He's got a
Use
bunch of like little delicate laser tools.
yeah, some that actually meant to remove rust and such, which is very useful.
We better
But
get down there. Couldn't have picked a better
he
time to
puts
take a
them
break.
away and heads off. Most of these tools came from the ship that we raided.
Shit. So, you all take some time, get your situations gathered. Timothy, I assume you attend?
Are
Good to
you
know.
here, Matt?
Regardless,
Oh shit.
you all gather on the command deck, more specifically the hollow table that's used for room entry displays. Not much elegance in these rooms. They're all rough and industrial, but it works. In this room is sort of like an assembled council. The most experienced engineer, the most proficient in the security team, aside from the obvious who was removed back during your heyday on the planet. Who's making sparking noise?
Sparking noises?
I don't hear that.
I don't think I left my welder on.
It's probably
Nope, it's off.
it's
Anyway,
not a. Yeah, whatever.
I swear, anytime an ant comes over, things just get weird and noisy.
I see. So, you all assemble in this room, and once you've gathered, it's kind of like an awkward moment just to break the ice, but Zacharias kind of puts up his... Zacharias just kind of puts up his hands and is pretty much saying that this isn't anything dangerous, or it's just something important. So, you all have gathered.
How many passengers are there? Like, how crowded is this? How crowded is this command deck right now?
There is just your team and the Saxum Uvan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, so it's just
That's
all
it.
of his extra passengers, not the
and this
entire
is-
ship's crew.
Okay. So this is the bridge. There's actually like reinforced windows where we can see out into space here, right?
No, this would be the deck behind that. There's not so much a bridge here as it is just kind of like a planning room behind a reinforced wall.
Okay.
So, I had told you that once we had reached our means of FTL travel, I would gather you all in a council of sorts to discuss our next moves.
Yes.
I'm guessing this is that council.
He just kind of nods his head. Can't
Well-
help but hear all the ruckus from you all.
I raised my eyebrows behind my helmet and kind of slightly tilt it towards Tim Tom before looking back at
Tim Tom sipped some coffee he made earlier.
Yep, Carthel cut his eyes a little too.
We apologize for the inconvenience we've caused, but
Yeah,
I guess some of us
I
have taken the
apologize as
stress
well.
worse than others.
Just a reminder that we've been here for, 2 days?
It hasn't been a very long trip.
Well, if we plan on journeying together, you'll be spending a lot more time in here than that.
I speak only for myself, but I'm more than used to space travel. It's not going to be a concern for me.
I've been
Well.
on plenty of ships.
So, Onwards to point one, the obvious and foremost topic. What is next for you all?
We need to find my mentor, Phoenix Comet.
Phoenix Comet. Where did you say he was going?
He was going to Coliseum,
Hmm.
however you say it.
Castellum.
Mhm.
Castellum.
Anyone have any differing opinions? We've all agreed this is going to be our next move. We need more allies, and this mentor of your reaches is, to the best of our knowledge, a skilled and resourceful artificer who could be a useful ally in our future endeavors. And right now, we're in desperate need of more friends rather than enemies.
Very well, but keep in mind if we are going to be heading into the heart of the Dominion, there will be certain obligations that I would have to attend to, as well as many formalities you would have to bind yourselves with.
What do you mean?
Are you familiar with the planet at all?
I'm not. I assume your reach has been there.
No, this was going to be my first time.
So, this particular celestial body is the moon of a gas giant in a semi-stable orbit. Its people pretty much lived underground for the majority of their lives. In their early history, they were gruff, tight-knit communities. However, as they continued to expand and thrive, eventually they gained a certain mastery over their world. As the seat of the Dominion is the, well, seat of their power. They have great, buried underground fortresses, and the surface is not but a, well, rocky wasteland. You would have to be expected to follow certain regulations. They don't trust outsiders easily.
Regulations such as...
Well, compared to your stay here at this wonderful wasteland of our own, you'd probably be... Someone would be keeping tabs on you.
We'd have a handler following us?
Entirely likely. And if you visited the outskirts of the settlements, it is entirely likely that you will not return, even with your skill.
Well,
By
given...
dangerous creatures, by the means of dangerous creatures, or individuals that would wish to do us harm?
I'm not a biologist, and I'm certain that there is no banditry on that planet, and they have no room for it. The wildlife on Calastellum, god damn it, Moth, you have fucked me up and made my own planet incapable of being pronounced. Fuck you, it's Calistenium from now on. Ugh. It is also adapted to these rough stages in its ecosystem. So to give you a general idea, these creatures all lie dormant within caverns and underground ecosystems again, until one certain part in their stable orbit, and then they all come out to frolic and play, and reproduce, and then go back to their hidey holes. Those caves are filled with many a dangerous thing, including a primitive kind of dragon.
Primitive
I'm
dragon?
all of a
I've
sudden
never-
getting fucking Pitch Black vibes from this.
There's a movie I haven't seen in a long time.
Well, either way, I severely hope that our search for Yarwich's master doesn't take us out that far. And if it does, well, he's probably dead anyways.
Cave-based survival horror. Sounds
He-
fun.
I must remind us, he was kidnapped to some degree, and I was forcefully shut away from him and launched to...
I'm not sure you did tell us where you ended up.
Well, I ended up on that refuge area where I point to everyone but the 447, where we met up.
The people who separated you from your mentor dumped you onto a cruise ship.
Yes.
I'm not sure that.
They didn't see me as a valuable asset. They saw me as more of a hindrance.
How nice of them to book your passage.
No kidding.
Anyways,
I was under the impression if they kidnapped your mentor, they would have put you somewhere much worse than where you supposedly ended up.
Well,
Maybe
it
like an
wasn't.
airlock or something.
It wasn't 1-to-1. They actually booked me on that, but it basically one thing led to another that got me to that point.
As an aside, Levi,
Yes, Devin.
would Karth know whether or not they're
You're
Whoa.
suffering from some technical difficulties. Can you repeat?
would Karth know if there was an outpost for the Grey Order on Castellum?
So there's actually a pretty significant presence of the Hollowed on Castellum. They've got close diplomatic ties with that Fey order. So I imagine that there probably is a small post of your own family, quote unquote.
Okay, thank you.
So we've decided we're going to Castellum.
That's the plan.
Can't believe I'm forgetting the name that I fucking assigned to it, but whatever.
unfortunate.
I do have a second point, though, and that it is getting quite tiresome to just keep calling you passengers and friends and allies. I think you all need a name.
A colloquial group name. Quite frankly, I don't think that's something I've even thought about till this point. Anyone got any ideas?
I kind of drum my fingers against my helmet. Task force
The,
aspect.
The amazing team of badasses.
No.
Honestly, task force aspects.
The interlopers.
I don't know. I don't really feel like much of a task force.
You are pretty ramshackle.
Yeah, true.
I mean, personally, I think a name that fit us the best would be the Clusterfuck, but I don't think that anyone could call us that with a straight face.
I am not going to be known as a clusterfucker, Ankos.
I don't expect you to. It's called
Tim
humor.
Tom chuckles.
I cross my
The
arms.
cool.
I made my suggestion.
I'm still offering the interlopers as a suggestion.
Yeah, it seems kind of lame.
Not the worst one, but
I've not heard you. I've not heard you contribute yet. Your reach.
I've been trying to think of something with Aspect because she is very prominent.
I mean, I guess if we were to call ourselves Task Force Aspect, then we could just call ourselves the TFA, which wouldn't be so conspicuous. Until somebody asks what it means.
Someone asks us what it means. Like, oh, Task Force Aspect. If people don't know who Aspect
And
is,
then they'll probably ask, well,
and
what
then they
makes
hear-
you a task force? You're not a military organization. Then we had to shrug our shoulders and go, I don't know, we thought it sounded cool. And then they're going to go, oh, well, you're just fucking nerds then.
Strike team aspects.
Clan Aspect.
We're not a clan.
Right. I'm just trying to throw out names here.
How about FaZe Clan?
Shut the fuck up.
Tim
Out
Tom
of character, go die.
Yeah,
Face.
You know, maybe this is me stepping on toes, but seeing as how you all survived this long, and specifically seeing some of you that should be dead coming back, maybe something along the lines of the Deathless.
Yards
That does seem to kind of fit.
Alright.
A little bit hardcore for my taste, but
I can't argue with it. What he says is very on the mark.
That's just one suggestion. I
kind
don't
of like
recommend
it,
you
and I
take it.
it kind of
Presumptuous as it is, the immortals. And Cartha's gonna kind of gesture with his hands a little dismissively. Like
gonna
he
have to
doesn't
make-
believe in it
Well,
himself.
it
I
sounds
mean,
like
I
most
think
of
that's
us-
great, but we're gonna have to imply the air
We're
quotes
exactly
added to the front and into
deathless,
that.
though we do have a habit of coming back. I suppose we could be called the Revenants.
Ugh.
The Death God.
oh,
I put my hand on one of my temples, even though I'm wearing a helmet. I heard most of us react the most positively to the Deathless, and I'm not opposed. It's not what I would have picked, but
Sure. I'll side with that for now. It's a name. It's not like we're registering this anywhere. We can change it if we'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm down with it, I guess.
After all, we've only ever known each other by our names, not by a colloquial group name. This is more for this is for the identification of ourselves to others, not the other way around.
So at this, fucking Uvon kind of murmurs and shifts his position and goes, "You do need to sign up at some point, though."
Sign up, like register a group or something.
Yeah, there's a contractor review board for mercenary work in these spaces.
if it's overseen by the Syndicate, we can forget about it.
Well, it's overseen anonymously by an AI, so...
Well, that
Do
doesn't
we
sound
have to put
Outside
our
of
names
Signic-
directly to it?
Outside of Syndicate jurisdiction, it would have-
No.
I thought the Syndicate didn't allow AI.
It's a strange thing. There is one AI that the Syndicate allows.
I'm not sure I want us to give our names to a Syndicate AI when we're currently wanted for war crimes.
I mean, many other bandit clans do. They seem alright.
Why would they? What do they get from it?
Money, prestige.
You mean to tell me the Syndicate is paying bandits?
He kind of takes a moment and puts a hand up. Just think about it for a second. A gang of probably experienced people with looted weapons and equipment willing to die for money.
Yeah, honestly,
Doesn't that sound useful?
I suppose it does, but whenever those same bandits start attacking their employers' supply shuttles, I'm not entirely sure they're going to want to pay them anymore.
Well, I'm honestly that tracks though. Keeping order in a place like this or extending their reach does mean they'd have to hire.
I'm just saying, I think the moment they see our names in a database, they're going to want to find where we are more than they are give us money.
They said it was anonymous, though, correct?
Well, yeah, okay. So let's. I feel like this is a conversation we could have another time. We just.
I
need
also
to
have another question.
If it's totally anonymous, what's even the point of signing on?
Are we wanted by any chance by like what is it the Dominion? Is that what it is?
Why would we be?
Well, I don't know. We were responsible for an event that had some pretty important people get killed.
Yeah, but we didn't kill any Dominion officials. When we were
Now,
and in fairness, we didn't kill any Syndicate officials either. We were just framed for it.
although that doesn't mean we're going to be safe in Dominion space, we still have a bounty on our head issued.
It's just we
by-
aren't going to have to worry about the Dominion coming to collect on it because they're at
It-
war
Yeah,
with the people who would be paying that bounty.
that is true, but freelancers are always a problem. Anyways, for the time being, I'm willing to settle on the Deathless as a temporary group name, but I think that we should all deliberate a little bit on what we would like to actually call ourselves. Should we actually put our pen to paper on anything?
I'm comfortable with it. I don't much care what we're actually called.
The same.
My last
So-
fire team had a number, not a name.
Well then, Deathless, to Castellum. I suppose you all should get comfortable. I'm having to meet with some shady contacts.
What kind of transit time can we expect?
Well, all of that is among the boring details, but you have to give me a moment. So he goes ahead, brings out his technical tools, his fucking data pad, and starts checking on the holo table. As far as I am aware, travel to Dominion space could take anywhere from 5 to 30 days, depending on how we travel through the Echo.
Good to know. I have a non-mission critical request as well.
And go ahead and give it.
Would I be in the way if I were to just stand on the bridge for a while and look out?
I suppose not.
It's been some time since I've been airborne, and I haven't seen the stars in a while.
I suppose I can oblige a simple request.
Thank you. That's
So,
all I have.
anyone else?
I'm just gonna go back into the hold. Probably go find a place to sit down and think a bit.
Tim Tom, in a desperate attempt to not go stir crazy, is going to find anything and everything to fucking do. Whether that be
Yarich is going to
helping
drag.
Yarich, fucking going to the range.
I'm just gonna
Yeah.
wander around and just
Screaming
closely
at his
watch Tim
reflection in
Tom
the
to make sure he
mirror
doesn't
every
try
now and
anything
then.
again.
I will be
Yeah,
on
you
the
just-
bridge looking out into the expanse.
Just trying to feign me spying on him. We're just like pretending to just wander around and do whatever.
So,
Arthur's going to be on the bridge with 447.
Yarich is going to bring Tim Tom to help him clean up the war rig.
That's a good
very
idea.
well. You guys go ahead and begin to keep yourselves busy, just doing anything that is possible for you to just try and keep your mind off of things. Meanwhile, this journey will take 17 days. So, you're packed in here for the long haul. Time begins to quickly pass as it does. Eventually, you do make it to the ship in question, and actually, I would say that since we were so close to it from before, I imagine that 447, you actually get a pretty nice view of basically drifting upon this simple speck in space that continues to expand into a long, like a lengthy, thin starship with rotating rings and various apparatus to sustain itself in FTL travel. Much, much larger than this ship in question that you're currently traveling on.
It hadn't really sunk in with me, I'm used to myself, that I was in space until I came up to the bridge and am now witnessing another craft.
Oh yeah. Like, you are no longer planet-side. You do not see the planet that you came from at all.
Because up until this point, my experience was I was in the vault, I boarded the ship, and I hadn't even seen space or the stars or anything my entire transit until now.
So, the ship spends a good amount of time going over its previous contacts. The captain is a close friend to the individual that runs this jump ship network. So after some conversations, eventually they book a passage. You're not sure how much it cost them, but you get a sense that Zacharias is willing to foot the bill for this expense. The ships eventually carefully merge and dock with each other, and about a day is spent just coordinating this, sorting cargo, making sure that the weight distribution is even, getting ready to transfer into the Echo.
Levi,
Yes.
whilst we're getting ready, like, to do this and all this, while all this is happening, and obviously, like, Yarich and myself are out, I want to start start coming up with a project idea for the war rig.
What is the project
I am
idea?
surprised that you haven't told anyone that Uvon beat the fuck out of you.
You do get the sense Tim Tom's a little bit on the shucks, but at the same
Actually,
time,
would we have noticed that he's been beaten within an inch of his life?
Oh yeah, I mean, he got knocked pretty good.
You know what? Fuck that. During this trip, I'm gonna ask him about that. It didn't even occur to me that I would have seen his wounds. I'm gonna have a point where I take Tim Tom inside and say, "It looks like you win a few rounds with a bad opponent. What went wrong? What happened?"
Tim Tom kind of like pats 447 on the shoulder. Nothing to be worried about. And he's gonna go
Nothing
back
to be worried about. You look awful.
Tim Tom like kind of like sits there and like look.
If I looked like how you do now, you would be offering me medical attention.
You're right, I would. But look, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it.
What the hell happened, Doctor?
Minor altercation.
With who?
It's fine. That big guy. That's Udon? Uran?
Uvon?
Yeah, I think that's guy.
So you're
Look.
telling me the detective's friend beat the fuck out of you?
Look.
For what?
I've been under a lot of stress lately. If you haven't really,
I know, but that doesn't mean you deserve to get beaten.
Look, I think it was. Tim Tom kind of like looks like he looks like he's trying to say something. Let's see. Look, I've been real stressed lately, and I've been trying to find ways to get rid of that stress. And I guess Uvan didn't like that, and oh well. Look, I think it's just best if, for all of us, if he stays on his side of the ship, I stay on my side of the ship, and I'll just go down here, clean the room, and clean the war rig, and I got some plans that might help us in the future for it.
I'm not okay with someone walking into my fire team and unilaterally beating people.
Look.
I understand you have been a problem lately and your drinking has gotten out of hand, but that's no excuse for him to just savage you.
And Tom just kind of sits there with his head down a little bit. It's like, I don't. Look, we're in a really rough spot.
We are.
If we start, I don't know. I feel like if we start causing problems here, it's gonna make things worse for us. I mean, we're gonna be here for like a month on board this. And honestly,
maybe you're right.
Really not deal with all.
That's a good point. We are stuck in this tub for a month. I kind of breathe briefly as if I'm calming myself down and getting a handle. All right. You raise a good point. I'm going to go talk to Ankos about this, and we'll try to handle this without getting too heated.
Yeah, just...
So, are you going to go find Ankos?
Yeah.
Whilst all of you are walking through the ship 447 with a purpose, you actually do hear something over the intercom, a simple call-out in the female technician's voice, the person who is manning the deck's comms. We will be making echo translation in approximately 7.5 hours.
Fair enough.
Alright,
anything else over the intercom?
Nope, that is it.
Cool.
So in 7 hours, I say me and Tim Tom go back to our bunks and bunker down.
That being said, you eventually do find Ankos Orion.
Where's Ankos? What's he up to?
What is he up to?
At this point, I guess you can say that you just catch me in the lounge reading.
Yeah, I could use the lounge art.
Okay, cool. So, seeing that he's in the lounge, I am going to get a glass of water and approach the table and sit it down in front of him. Something to quench your thirst, detective?
I'm not particularly thirsty, but thank you.
I'm gonna kind of put my elbows on the table and clasp my hands together and lean forward slightly. I take it you've noticed, or at least I hoped you would, that our doctor was pretty severely wounded.
Yeah, he got the shit beat out of him is actually what happened. I know exactly what happened. Uvon was taking exception to Tim Tom not drawing himself the fuck out and not listening to anybody. Decided that a physical lesson was the best way to solve the problem.
Well, I'm glad I don't have to explain it to you from the beginning then.
Don't get me wrong, I have a lot of mixed feelings about it too. But quite frankly, I've got no reason to tell
Well,
Uvon what to do with his business, and
my feelings aren't mixed at all. I don't think we should be having someone barging in on our fire team and beating people. I understand that Tim Tom was out of line, but that's
he
not...
wasn't listening to any of us. We had failed our intervention, and we had to rely on an outside
The
party.
next
to try
step
to
wasn't going to be beat him to a pulp, it was going to be put him in the brig to dry out.
You are right, but unfortunately the matter was decided before I could do anything about it.
Look, I was going to confront Uvon directly and have it out with him, but Tim Tom reminded me that we are on this tub for a month, so I'm not trying to stir the pot and cause any unnecessary friction that would make this journey any harder than it has to be. So for that reason, I'm not taking this to him and I'm not starting anything, but he's your friend. I'd appreciate it if you'd tell him to
Not do this. Yeah.
maybe not do anything like this again. I wish I could do more than that, but in this situation, in these circumstances, that's about all I can do is ask. So I'm not going to start something and cause a bigger problem for Zacharias' crew than we've already caused.
That's fair. I'll pass it on to him, but to be entirely honest, I don't know if Uvon was even acting in his own right mind when he did that. He's been
Understood.
under extreme stress lately. I don't know what the hell
Has
wrong
he?
with him. He's fucked up right now.
I don't know him, so
Something
I
about
couldn't...
Something about the information that he's learned about your friend that he still refused to share with me has got him extremely pent up.
How long has it been since he told you that he knew something?
It's only been about 2 or 3 days at this point. He alluded
Didn't he
that
say he
might
only
have-
needed that long?
No, he said about 5, I believe, but I think he was just about to tell me something about her whenever, whenever Yarich came in and said that Tim Tom was starting to drink again, or at least attempting to. At that point, the conversation got interrupted and we had to go deal with him, so...
Yeah.
You can blame getting a fast answer, or you can blame getting delayed information on Tim Tom.
I'm not denying that the doctor has been something of a liability lately. I just think the way it was handled was completely out of line.
Was kind of brutish and over the top, yes, I think so too, but at the same time, it's not like I was doing any better.
Well, like I said, we could have put him in the brig to dry out. What's done is done. Just please talk with him.
Yeah, I can do that.
And if he snapped like this because he's under some kind of stress, you're his friend. Do what you can to snap him out of it. Everyone needs to be at the top of their game. So with that, I'm gonna kind of slap my hands on the table and then get up and walk out.
So,
when that happens, I'll let somebody else handle their business first. When we have a minute, I'm going to.
I think everybody's got their stuff.
I will say after that conversation, I'm gonna go find Tim Tom and probably see that he's helping your reach work on the war rig. I will briefly let Tim Tom know I've talked to Ankos and hopefully he's gonna get Uvon straightened out, and I will offer my assistance to Tim Tom and your reach.
Can I do some sort of engineering check to start like laying out potential? The idea is like to add a like an armor upgrade package to the vehicle. So like if we get engaged or if someone starts shooting at us while we're in it, we're not the people in the back aren't just in an exposed bed. Does it make sense?
Well, I mean, it's not an exposed bed anyway. It's like a simple tub.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. The idea was like add some like better armor, like
Sure,
armor,
give
potential like firing ports. Stuff
yeah,
that
give
we
me an
can-
engineering check. Alright, at 27, you lay out the capacity to upgrade this with the personal enclosure, which would upgrade the amount of cover that it gives its passengers.
I am no engineer or mechanic, so I'm not helping in any technical way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's laying out diagrams and scratching out some stuff that's basically saying that these would be good anchor points, these are stable structures. It's not like we're going to mount a bunch of armor to a spot that won't support it.
I have a few
So-
points in engineering, plus I have expertise, so
If-
I guess I could like help him a little bit.
If your
Fair
reach
enough.
Let me
needs some,
show you a
if your
little
reach
bit.
needs
You want
some,
me to make a check?
if your reach needs some longer arms, I will be there.
Alright.
I don't know. Tim Tom
Here's
has
my
long ass
assist.
arms.
So about 7 hours pass as you all are contemplating and drawing up diagrams for upgrading your war machine.
Oh, nice.
It's going very well, obviously. That being said, about 7 hours pass. There is another warning over the intercom that they are beginning the proceedings from Echo Translation.
All right, pack up to your bunkers or rooms.
Gonna hunker down.
Sounds like a plan, mechanic.
All right. So we all go to our rooms. Yarich zips up in his hammock and gets ready.
Tim Tom goes. Tim Tom takes the jug contraption and finds a way to secure it.
I see. So.
What is that?
I think this would be a good point to show Uvon that even after you beat the fuck out of him, he's still brewing alcohol, so that clearly didn't work.
Tim Tom looks at Yarich and just goes, "A long-term investment."
Can I
Well-
make a science check to realize what he's trying to do?
Well, he has a bottle that has a balloon strapped to it and a bunch of rotting fruits, so it's pretty easy to put two and two together.
Fair enough.
Fermenting alcohol.
Don't worry,
you do.
I'm not using anything terrible. It's gonna be a 3-week process. It's not like I'm, fiending, and I'm not, ripping into my medical supplies to make mind-altering hallucinogens or whatever
Alright.
I could make.
As
out
long
of
as
it.
you don't take anything from
Gosh,
the
no,
ship
no,
itself.
no. It's why I used an empty soda bottle.
All right.
And
Let's
one of my
just deal with
latex
this.
gloves.
Now you're helping him with his alcohol.
Well,
Christ.
Your
He's
reach, we
doing-
told you to monitor him, and if you see something, say something, and now you're being an accomplice.
Wait, I thought I was with Yarich and fucking.
No.
No, they're in their
Mhm.
capsule right now,
You've got your
Oh.
own room.
and you have your room to yourself.
Yeah. Okay. I thought we were still like in the
No,
engineering thing. Okay.
So, after a while, you start hearing this deep, recessed humming, not coming from the ship itself, but from its where it is anchored to this massive FTL-capable vessel. It is very low, so low that you almost think that you don't hear it, but it is basically vibrating through everything here. It's just this droning, constant sound that continues for upwards of 10-20 minutes.
I'm gonna pull out my data pad and start examining the area with the
The magical sense.
yes
Would you just be making an engineering check for that? How does that work again?
computers.
Computers. Go ahead and give me a computers check. You definitely are picking up strange, swirling emanations that are just drifting through every portion of this ship. But the droning continues to grow and grow and grow until eventually, over maybe a 5-minute period, it continues to ascend in both pitch and noise until eventually it reaches an apex, a crescendo, and you hear some almost like a snapping sound, like all of the air in the cabin had just suddenly shifted position and made a loud throughout everything.
Uh-oh. Tim Tom makes
And
a loud
then-
squeak.
Then there is nothing but the howling. It almost sounds like wind, but that would be impossible. This is the vacuum of space. So
There's a hull
trapped,
breach just sucking all the air out. Then
trapped with this draining sound, this wind, this screaming. You all begin to settle down as the pitch of the ship continues to wind back down to a very base level. Back to that almost forgettable noise. You are now in echo translation.
Nice.
So,
Oh no! God damn it! Why are we being marooned in the warp? Damn it, Levi! Sorry, you just posted up that image, and all the nightmares of the warp just started flooding back.
so, what is it that you are doing?
I would like to point out that
Yari just going to go and see if he can get a more direct reading in this area. Maybe from the bridge. And
So
see
do we have to
what's
stay
going on.
inside the our cabins, or can we?
You're free to
venture out?
move. 17 days, man.
Yeah.
Alright.
Well,
So
I guess
Yari
I
just
will.
going to go to the head of our personal little ship and see if he can get a better scan from
Yeah,
as he watches the
Yeah, you go ahead and scamper up to the bridge and make your way up to the front deck, having to excuse yourself, but it is very clear that the captain has given the Deathless permission to walk about the ship wherever they please now.
I make a fucking big pot of coffee.
Yeah, you make it up to the bridge and actually find yourself surprised. The deck and the viewports are bolted over, completely shut. They have been completely sealed over with metal.
what the
Yari
fuck?
tilts his head.
That being said, the rest of the crew are continuing on their journey and, running their procedures, for basically overseeing things from the command throne. Everything is business as usual. You can tell that these shutters are probably lowered once you are in the Echo.
I presume I've been through this before, but I never seen the.
Never at the bridge, which is just strange.
There's something going on the bridge. Do they?
So, have I ever seen the warp itself or
It's not called the warp; it's called the Echo.
the echo?
You have never witnessed it with bare eyes before, no?
Hmm. Have I
Has
seen it
anyone
with
ever-
cameras at least?
If you wished to access a camera, just kind of at one of the various terminals around here, they'll give you some suspicious looks, but they relent and they let you. They're gonna go ahead and check the camera feed.
Yeah, I'm curious what this actually looks like.
So it is strange. The camera isn't really giving you much of anything, almost as if you are surrounded by a thick fog. But every once in a while you catch swirls and almost like lines as if there were a vast wind engulfing the ship as it was in mid-travel. You kind of direct the camera and turn it a bit just to view whatever's outside. And you're not really getting much of anything beyond this vast mist-shrouded wind.
Alright, I'm gonna put this project away for a day and maybe examine my readings tomorrow once we're deeper into this.
I would like to contact Yarich.
Yarich
I guess
immediately
call him.
Yarich comes back.
So,
Yes.
so you hear Tim Tom. So, listen, could I get your help down at the war rig? I look, this thing's pretty rough. I think we should probably I don't know, do like a really, really, really good. Look, we're gonna be here for a month. I think it'd probably be a really good idea to know every nook and cranny of this thing, so we know what's wrong with it, so we can get it fixed later. And maybe
I've been
jury rig.
examining it, and it seems to be working well.
keep in mind it's not the next day or anything. We have worked on the war rig for 7 hours already.
This is true.
Tim Tom
It's
is
very,
doing
very clear
everything.
that...
Tim
Yeah.
Tom is doing everything in his power just to do something.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, and
well,
this is
I disassembled one of the brakes, and I need your help actually reassembling it. So,
if that's the case, I'll be right there.
yeah, I think a spring shot off halfway across the room, and I can't.
What?
I look. I tried reaching my arm underneath this really tight spot, and my hand's too big. I need your.
Usually
help, I'm
mine's
sorry.
too small.
mean, I think it looks like you might be able to crawl under there. I
You
can
need
kind
a
of see it.
medium-sized hand.
You're not there.
This is a calm call between your reach and
Look,
Tom.
look. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to keep myself occupied. I'm sorry I broke it.
It's okay. You're trying your best. That's all I will ask for.
Man, this coffee stuff is really great.
So.
Hey, can you make me another pot of coffee on your way down?
Oh no.
Now he's a
Um,
caffeine addict and an alcoholic.
I'd
I
rather him
guess-
be addicted
Oh
to caffeine.
no, we've traded one vice.
I
We've
guess
traded
us all
one
being
villain
really
for
blind
another.
to our.
Y'all each not knowing the problems of caffeine is gonna make one extra dark, not extra dark, extra light.
So.
I was gonna say this would probably be a good opportunity for me to get this conversation with
Yes.
Yvonne out of the way.
Oh yeah.
Since
So
we're stuck alone in a room together.
yeah, after the wind snap, things have been very quiet except for the howling of the wind. You're not really sure where it's coming from, but after that moment, each and every single one of you, whilst you are walking along, performing your business, just kind of getting a general day's worth of activities in, just start noticing things. Like little creeping things on the edge of your vision. Like you turn around and go to see what it is, but there's just nothing there. And you feel like you start hearing things, but people are pretty much just telling you that they didn't hear anything and that you should just calm down.
I will say I am.
The Geller field is failing.
I have been resting in my cabin.
Starting to
because
see spiders.
I have been resting in my cabin because I have spent 7 hours working on a fucking war rig, and I was not trained to be a mechanic.
Very true. So, eventually you do confront Uvon, who is currently right now working at the desk on a bunch of different shit.
Well, I guess I'll just go ahead and be. I'm not gonna dance around the issue. I'll just walk up to the desk, maybe like lean on it just a little bit, and say. So, it seems that some of my friends aren't happy with how you handled the issue with the drunk doctor.
And it's not like we'll be traveling together.
You're right, and I'm not gonna question your methods. I'm just gonna say that before you do something like that in the future, just make sure that you give us all of the opportunity we need to handle the problem ourselves, because we don't need to make our problems yours. I appreciate the help, even if I feel like maybe you went about it in a bit of a brash way, but we've got to learn. If I'm gonna be stuck with these guys for a very long period of time, we all have to know how to deal with each other, which means we can't have outsiders helping us.
He just
You're
kind
not
of
an outsider to me. You are to them.
Yeah, he just kind of puts a hand up to his head and lets out a long breath, and then stops his work, sits down the pad, and turns off the screen. That way you can't see what's hitting the desk, and turns over to you. If you want, tell him I agreed completely, and that I'll never do anything like it again.
Appreciate it. What are you working on, anyways?
It's a very long silence between the two.
Well, I guess if I get the feeling that I've slighted him and he doesn't feel like talking, then I'll just kind of
Not necessarily slighted. He just... You can tell that he seems reluctant to discuss anything relating to the project.
I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, you don't have to. Kind of
gives you a nod and continues working.
Okay, and then I will just go ahead and be on my merry way then. That was a pretty definitive, I'm not interested in talking answer.
So you leave. Go ahead and probably relay this information to the soldier.
Yeah, I'll go find 447 and whatever you're doing. I guess you said you're resting in your room.
I'm just resting in my cabin right now.
Yeah, I'll knock on the door, wait for the, and then I'll head in and just say, yeah, I've talked with Uvon, and I have appealed to him that he shouldn't step in our affairs.
Alright. Just as long as no one else is getting beaten because they weren't acting correctly.
Well, they shouldn't get beaten by him anyways, unless, they go really far.
Right. Well, thank you for handling that. I didn't want to cause any more unnecessary tension. So I'm glad we were able to straighten that out civilly.
Quite frankly, I'm a little embarrassed that I had to get told to handle this problem. I probably should have told him to stay out of our business from the get-go.
I shake my head. He was your friend. You thought he was doing the right thing at the time, and Tim Tom was being a problem. I see where you were coming from, but at the same time, we can't have that kind of behavior in our ranks. We had a plan that didn't involve brutalizing him, and we should have stuck to it. But that wasn't exactly our fault.
Speak of the devil, we should probably do a follow-up with him to make sure he's been
Doctor,
actually behaving himself. Yeah.
well,
Carth's sitting at the desk and
going to
around.
level with you, detective. I'm not sure I would trust him to be honest about that, given his behavior, and we had to intervene twice.
Well,
I would rather ask your reach, who has been tasked with keeping an eye on him.
right. I'm gonna go look for your reach then. I assume that I think last time he said he's going to. Actually, I'll go to your
No,
room first.
I
Not
will
that.
go with you just because you do raise a good point. We should check up on him.
Not
Yeah.
that hard. You find your reach very, very tired. Like just working on the war rig and
So
7+
when I get
hours.
back into the fucking hangar area where we have the war rig, I'm gonna kind of look at the
You see
disassembled.
Tim Tom is removing a door, methodically dismantling.
I'm
the
not
door,
gonna
inspecting
acknowledge
each individual component.
I'm not going
and
to
reassembling
acknowledge.
it.
I am not going to acknowledge the doctor frantically ripping our war rig apart. Instead, I'm going to approach your reach and kneel down to him. Your reach. I thought we were done for the day. What the hell's going on?
Yari just going to gently whisper, "Alright, he's trying to distract himself."
At this point, you catch just over 447, like under his, like beside his leg. You see Tim Tom removing a door.
Christ.
Like
He
you pop the
has-
hinges and shit like that.
He's been drinking a lot of coffee.
That's better than alcohol.
He
I kind
know.
of say this with a quizzical inflection as I see him tear apart the war rig.
I don't know if
Do I need
that's
to make an
true.
engineering check to see if I can reassemble this thing?
You're fine. You're just wasting time at this point.
Okay.
I fully
I will also say-
I fully support him keeping busy, but I'm not sure we should be using our only mode of transport as a tinker toy.
I agree, and I will also say this. He's trying to brew a thing of alcohol using some dried fruit.
I nod my head at this and look up at fucking Ankos. Well, that's why I didn't want to beat him. It doesn't work.
I will say this. He's trying to keep away from his medical supplies, so I think the best thing to do, he's also using a empty bottle and none of the pipes or anything for this, so I think as long as I entertain him with trying to get at least something that he might be able to drink and won't cause him to get sick, I think it might be our best alternative for now.
Are you saying
see-
that we should just turn a blind eye to this?
Not
see
blind
Tim
eye.
Tom go,
Maybe
I found the door latch!
Just tank door comes off.
I'm just saying, maybe not blind eyed, but a guided assistance will slowly try to weed him off.
I don't know.
I'm not a fucking counselor. This is not my line of work.
Nor is it mine. I the best thing I can think of is let him think he's getting some good alcohol. Maybe replace it with something that tastes like alcohol.
A little
I'm pretty sure
underhanded,
he's a
don't you think?
doctor. I'm pretty sure he'll figure it out. Also,
Fair
I'm not gonna break his bad habits by lying to him, because as soon as he figures out we are lying to him, he's gonna go right back to where he was.
We're not going to be able to nip this in the bud by answering his deceptive tactics with more lies.
Fair enough. So,
Well, it's
We
clear.
should just we should probably just ask him about it and see.
So, at this point, as you all are talking, some of you, maybe even everybody in this group, just starts hearing a weird tapping sound.
tap, 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 tap.
No, it's more along the lines of like a...
Coming from
Like
where?
on the hull of the ship or what?
It's just kind of echoing through everything. And as soon as it comes, after it seems to tap for just a little bit, it disappears.
Yari just going to pull out his
You know,
computer.
me having been on military cruisers before and having at least a degree of experience with
Yeah.
space travel as a passenger, I assume I'm used to hearing ships make weird, unexplainable noises.
Yeah.
Oh,
Is this common?
I
This
shrugged
is
this
fairly
off.
common.
Yari just gonna pull out his tablet and try to scan around and see what caused it.
Fair enough.
You're
You
right.
start wandering around and exploring.
Ankos, if there's one thing I don't like, it's being sneaky and not being direct with people. I think if we're going to proceed with this, we'll have to talk to Tim Tom directly.
Yeah, agreed. We should try to give him a chance to justify himself at the very least.
I agree.
Even if we do decide that we should let it slide, I want him to at least have a damn good argument.
He
for
needs
what
to be
did.
accountable. Even if we decide to let this go, he needs to answer for this.
Right. All right, let's go ahead and talk to him before he tears apart even more of the ship.
Do you want me to make another computer's check?
In a moment, as we are all...
At this point, Tim Tom is unbolting the seat.
So we're gonna approach you as you're using your impact drill to unbolt the seat, and I'm gonna place a hand on your shoulder. You've been hard at work for the past little while.
How you doing?
I'm all right. You've been
You see
hard
Tim
at
Tom
work
grab
for the
this
past few
fucking,
hours.
Like this whole ass coffee mug, like a whole ass coffee pot. Takes a gulp. sets it
Look,
down.
I think you might need to take a break just for a while.
Why? But why? I mean, I'm getting a lot of things done.
I'm going to level with you. The war rig was fine and didn't really need to be disassembled.
But we gotta make sure everything's fine on. After
It-
all, we're gonna be on the ship for a while.
You're right, and it was fine, and now it's missing a door and a wheel, and I think the exhaust is laying a good 10 feet away from the rest of the undercarriage.
Where it'll get put back on. Besides, if I have any questions, I have your reach.
Yeah, well, look, Yarich doesn't have unlimited stamina. He has to rest too, even if he is a skilled mechanic. But that's not why we're talking to you. Take a break at least long enough for us to have a conversation.
Tim Tom is just standing there, staring
I
at you.
kind of look to Ankos.
All right, I'm back. Okay. As we sit Tim Tom down, I'm gonna look up at you and say, "We know about your bottle and your balloon.
Yes. I felt
Correct
if I
me
was
if I'm
going,
mis- Go ahead.
my apologies. I felt that if I was going to have an addiction, I should do something in a way that makes me feel okay about the addiction and not, possibly resulted in a destructive manner.
Look, the coffee isn't as bad as the alcohol, I guess. I say looking around at this. I say looking around the disassembled war rig. It's just
Tim Tom looks at the fucking the pot of coffee he has in his hands. Like, honestly, I never really drank this stuff before. I really see its appeal.
neither have I. Look,
You want a glass?
no. We have had I'm certain. We have had conversations about your alcohol problem twice over now. And we have just found out that you've gone behind our backs and are attempting to brew more. You have to understand why this rubs us the wrong way.
Yes, I do. But look on the bright side. At least I am not attempting to pull
I understand,
copper wire out
but
of the walls.
why brew alcohol at all if you're going to coffee now?
Because I discovered coffee after I made that batch.
So I look at Ankos after he says that, then back up at the bear. So you're done.
I don't know. To be entirely honest. I mean,
Listen, it's a good thing, I suppose, that
Tim
you're not
Tom's leg
actively
is, like,
stealing to
bouncing
fuel your
leg.
bad habits, but just because you're not stealing to fuel the bad habit doesn't mean you're still not fueling said habit.
what do you think about
Also,
that?
what happened? Okay, here's my question.
I'm
right?
gonna kind of hold a hand up to Ankos. This isn't about the coffee. Let's remember that.
I don't care about the coffee. I'm talking about the booze.
Right.
I'm. All right. So, like I said, maybe you're not being destructive right now to fuel your habit. But what happens if your batch finishes and you get a little bit, and then it kicks in, and then you want more? Because I'm pretty sure that's what happened last time. You had your little flask, you had a bit to drink, you lost it, and you already had the taste on your lips, and it just made you lose all your sense of self and reasoning. Don't you see that having any amount at all is kind of the problem? You know you have a problem when 1 is too many and 2 isn't enough. And for you, 2's not enough. You'll just keep going if you get a hold of it. You may think it's not a problem now, but it will be a problem whenever you actually have a supply, and then that supply won't be enough to wean you over, and then you're gonna start doing stupid shit again to get more. This is how the cycle of addiction works. Trust me.
Oh, you are correct. Medically speaking, that is correct. But I also
But-
feel
but
like
you're-
I should learn moderation.
I'm sorry. You're talking about learning moderation while you have a whole pot of coffee in your hand.
I've returned.
Stuff is great. Hey, I really need to start
Look,
putting
I'm
that
gonna
order in.
hold my hands up again. The coffee's not the problem, but I don't think you can talk much about moderation right now, Doctor. With all due respect.
And honestly, above it all, this is just... I kind of feel like I've been punked. I feel like I've been disrespected. Nothing I've said has landed. Myself, all of us have had this big conversation with you about how you need to start being responsible for yourself. And
If anything,
being,
this just
being
proves
open, allowing us to help you, and then we find out from Yarich that you've been just going ahead and brewing behind your back again. And no, I'm not talking about brewing coffee.
Look, I understand. If you guys feel like it be a bad, I'll dump it down the drain. How's that make you sound?
What if we dump it down the drain?
Sure, go ahead. Take a swig of coffee.
Okay, Tim Tom, we're gonna get rid of it, and we're going to destroy that distillery.
Now,
It's not a
here's my
distillery.
question.
It's a 1 liter bottle with a
Okay.
glove on it.
That's functioning. Anyway, that's semantics. Here's my question. How long is it going to be before you lie to us again about something like this?
Tim Tom remains silent, with his foot still shaking.
It's not about the booze for me right now.
It's
It's about
about
the breach of trust. Which right now, I'm going to be honest, you have very little of my trust.
And that's fine. I understand. I did lie to you. But, look. Inevitably, if you feel I shouldn't have it, fine. Go ahead.
Just out of curiosity, out of character, or is your character being sincere right now?
More or less, he's being sincere, but you also get the sense of
He's strung out, also. I mean,
he is strung out, and also you get the sense of
but
even
my
he's
question is,
not
if
sure
I was
if
to
he
roll,
could actually
if I
go
was to roll a
colder.
sense motive to see if you're being, sincere right now, would
I don't
you
even
have
think
to
you
roll
need a
deception
sense
against it?
motive.
I wouldn't.
I would say he's strung out, like he's super, like you get the sense it's probably like his 3rd pot of coffee,
But
so he's fucking jamming the fuck out.
know I've
Um,
said this before, and
You also get the sense that even he doesn't fully know if he can stop. Like even he's coming to the realization, like, holy shit, I'm a fucking addict.
Look, I know I've said this before, and it seems like talking isn't really doing much good, but I'll say it again. We're not doing this because we're judging you or to prevent you from exercising your personal liberty. It's because we're a unit and we have to function as one. And you being addicted to alcohol harms our effectiveness. So, it's something we have to hold each other accountable for the good of all of us.
And I apologize about that.
If something
just-
happened with me, I would hope the rest of you would do the same for me.
Of course.
Well,
It's just, there's been a lot of stress lately, and a small habit ended up turning up
And if
into a much
anything,
bigger habit.
you going around our backs and making more alcohol just proves that Uvon was wrong to do what he did. It didn't stop you.
by the way, I've talked with him, and he won't
Yes,
interfere
you've
again.
told me.
He did apologize. I will include that, so don't think he's sorry.
I know.
But he's at least not going to do it
I
again.
just felt like making the point now that I know that Tim Tom just kept doing it.
Well, Tim, I'm going to take you at your face value right now. I'll assume that you're being truthful to me, because it's all I can do. I'm going to go to your room right now, take that bottle, throw it in the trash, and...
Wait, you really should dump it out, because if you just throw it in the trash, the low-pressure environment might cause it to explode.
It's...
We skipped a step in that discussion. We're going to dump it.
Yeah, it just... The point is you're not going to have it anymore.
So I'm not even really sure I'm not even sure it'd actually ferment, to be entirely honest. I don't have any yeast.
It's
It did have
fine.
some
We're going
weird
to...
mold.
You get the point. It's going to be gone. All right?
So-
He's gonna
You
poison
can,
yourself.
you
At
can,
the
you
end of
can
all
keep
this-
drinking your coffee and doing what you need to do to stay sane, but this alcohol thing's got to go.
But at the end of all of this, we know that addiction is not something that you entirely have free reign over. Your wants and your desires are sometimes, it's an addiction. It's sometimes uncontrollable. Just know that if you want help, if you want this shit taken away from you, if you want a support chain, we are here. You don't have to do this alone, but don't be ashamed of it. If
No,
you need
I'm
the
just
help,
going to say you don't have a choice but to do this together. You
Well,
couldn't be alone even if you wanted.
yeah, no kidding.
You're right. You're right. We're all stuck together. Two,
awful Sammy's
no,
doing.
I really honestly don't want to give that bottle up. I don't. But I don't have a choice here, and I don't want to cause any more undue friction where it is possible.
Good.
I have my faculties at the moment, and I am incredibly irritated at the situation I have been dealt with.
It'll be
So, if
easier
you're
for
gonna
you
go ahead
to
and do it,
deal with a caffeine addiction than an alcohol addiction.
I highly suggest that you go ahead and just go and dump it out before I start wanting to change my mind.
I agree. This conversation has reached its point.
Tim Tom then kills the fucking jug of coffee, goes over, and just immediately starts reassembling parts.
I kind of
Of course.
shake my head and walk with Ankos back to Tim Tom's capsule to go get rid of this bottle.
So,
When
the source of this tapping, this... You chase it around and monitor the weird energy fluctuations. From the device's point of view, it almost seems like the space around you is shuddering with each very significant, very purposeful tap. Until eventually you chase yourself across the deck of the ship, and the tapping stops. The rest of the party moves forward, picks up the bottle, and gets ready to dispose of it safely.
As I'm doing this with Ankos, I'm going to comment. I'm not a massive fan of his caffeine addiction either, but we can't take that from him.
quite frankly, I could care less if he drinks a lot of coffee. My problem is that man jumps back and forth from vice to vice like it's fucking like he's bored
My
on a bus.
problem is he's ripping apart the war rig for no real reason, but it looks like he's not doing any real damage at least, so I'll have to
Also,
let it slide. If this is
also,
really his
do you
first time ever drinking coffee, I've had CEOs and other desk jockeys in my career before who sucked that stuff down like it was oxygen. I'm sure
Yeah,
and they were not disassembling vehicles, so
Well, caffeine is the most socially acceptable drug.
yes. I'm
My
just
problem is it's
saying
fine.
this caffeine addiction will level out at some point and he'll stop acting like this. He might need a cup of coffee to function from now on, but I'm sure he'll mellow out and eventually stop disassembling our hardware.
To change the subject a little bit, these noises, are these normal?
I kind of shrug my shoulders. I've been on and off a variety of different freighter, cruiser, and destroyer models throughout my career, and something I've noticed is whenever you're going at either sublight or light or faster than light speeds, you do hear some odd things. It's just part and parcel of being on a ship. I'm sure you've heard the phenomenon of being in a building and hearing it, I raise my fingers, air quotes, settle, for lack of a better term.
I guess, but this is almost rhythmatic. It seems.
I kind
I'm
of just
I'm probably just going insane
I
from sense.
throw up my hands a little bit. I hear it too, but to me it's just background noise. It doesn't really sound out of the usual from what I've heard of being on ships.
It's a little too rhythmic and deliberate sounding for my taste. I'm
Well,
And then I
getting
go, "Oh
very
God, Vaku,
comfortable.
you're here!"
He just suddenly basically appears behind you. I imagine Baku's probably good at doing that.
I don't let
behind
Vaku's
you.
sudden
Nothing personnel, kid.
I don't let Vaku's sudden appearance phase me. You might be right, it is rhythmic, but we don't know exactly how this ship works. I wasn't an expert on Concordian ship technology, and I'm definitely not an expert on Dominion ship technology. So
Is
there's
there
no
anything out in the
telling why
Echo
that
that
would
could
be happening.
cause that specifically, other than just traveling through it?
Well,
Like,
if there's any of us who would know, it'd be a reach. Again, I'm not concerned about this at all, but if you want to chase this rabbit, then by all means.
Not really. More just curious. After
so I'm
all
just
this
gonna
whole
go up to
crap.
your reach, just look for him, and gonna ask him.
He's
Hey.
missing somewhere.
Oh,
He's
fuck,
been
gotta go
chasing
find him.
He's been chasing the sound down.
Yeah, at this point it stopped, so you all are just kind of trying to get a hold of
Yarj
it.
eventually goes back to the little bay.
Once our job is done of getting rid of that bottle safely, I'm going to return to my cabin to rest some more.
So, Yarich, tell me, is there any sort of entities that would live in the Echo?
I have no clue. I've been
I have
trying
a-
to figure out what this thing is, and even with the upgrades I made to my personal little
Or tales of ghosts that just live in the void? They just,
yeah. I
just spooking
don't
me.
I don't know, but from what I can tell, my custom rig is picking up some swirling energies. Sometimes they kind of almost, I don't want to say form into hands, but I don't know.
And, oh, great.
It almost feels like, I don't know.
Little raspies.
No.
Master hand.
Please don't.
It almost feels like vortexes that are just maybe being created by the shape of our ship or something.
Master
but
hand
if
is
you- if
tapping
that
on
was
the
like-
ship.
If that was the
Dear.
case, it would be doing it constantly, even if it was. It would be more constant and not this rhythmic on and off.
So, it is getting rather late.
Yar's eyes and ears and wings, well, antennas and wings rather, are just kind of drooping and just kind of. Yarch has been pushing himself to the fullest, trying to take care of Tim Tom.
So, I imagine that you both interested but otherwise not really capable of continuing this investigation wander off and maybe start getting some rest.
Tim
Yeah,
Tom gets
Yar's
hit.
just gonna zip himself up into his hammock and.
When you find Tim Tom in the if you find Tim Tom in the hangar, the coffee crashes hit.
Yar's just not gonna go back to hangar until morning.
I imagine the next few days, it's just kind of the same thing. When you close your eyes, when you settle down for the night, right whenever you feel like you're about to sleep, you start hearing the tapping again. Whether you get up and investigate the noise, it's your own choice.
I will say just, I guess, a flavor thing. One day, instead of having Tim Tom continue to fucking disassemble our only vehicle, I will ask Tim Tom to help me disassemble, clean, and reassemble all of the party's weapons. That could be productive and good for maintenance.
Right.
And he could put his coffee energy into that.
I'm just gonna keep investigating the tapping noise.
See,
This is just really unnerving. I'm just like,
Yarich is going to try to put some sort of air muffs over his antennas, trying to drown it out. But to his surprise, no avail.
So, give me a perception check, Vaku.
And you said anytime we ask any crew about this, they think we're crazy?
Pretty much.
Okay, fair.
perception.
26. So, in the middle of the third night, whilst you are basically crawling around and searching desperately for the source of this noise before it disappears, you eventually stumble into another crew member, a female one with dark rings underneath her eyes. And it seems that in the middle of the night, she has suffered consecutively 3 sleepless nights, and you both basically bump into each other, searching for the noise together.
The noise, do you hear it?
I've been hearing it. I can't get it out of my head. Anytime I try to sleep, it's just there.
Damn.
I need to just put my mind at ease, just find it. And I'll know if it's... I don't know.
Is it outside? Is it something?
It kind of gives you a weird look. Well, we can look together if you want.
I suppose. Yeah.
So you continue searching around. And that is the end of today.
So
You all continue your routine on the 4th.
Yarich, in the middle of the night, had a brilliant idea to him. He's going to try playing with some frequencies. See if he can ward this sound off at this point.
Oh, like you're gonna try and drown it out with a white noise generator?
Kind of, yeah.
Fair enough. I imagine that you eventually hook up your computer and tune it to a very specific frequency. That way it matches the sound of the tapping. And through some... go ahead and give me a computers check, actually. Through some rather clever manipulation, you eventually develop a noise which kind of just drowns out everything, and you find that your nights from now on are fairly comfortable.
Alright.
It's a white noise machine.
Yeah, he's just got a white noise machine for himself. So,
After this night, I'm going to go over and ask if anyone else would like to use this frequency for themselves.
So, I have said that I'm kind of shrugging this tap off as like one of the weird noises the ship makes. Am I able to continue doing that and sleep well? Am I having trouble sleeping because of this repeated thing over the fucking past days?
I would say it's getting annoying sometimes, but you're able to... I mean, you literally lived on Navy vessels for quite some time.
Whenever
You lived on Navy warships, which were fully echo capable.
Yeah. So whenever you reach options to me, I'm just gonna shrug my shoulders. I'm used to it.
Your reaction is basically the same as the crew, where it's just like, what fucking noise? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, that's just the ship.
Yeah.
Tim Tom literally just like when he goes to bed, like how I do, I just put some earphones in and just play like a static sound and go to
Ocean Man.
No,
I'm a scat man.
Ow, I just burnt myself.
Alright.
No, he just like has like a 10-hour recording of static. But he just puts earphones on and just falls asleep to static sounds.
So yeah, the fourth night after you offer it to the people, and some people take it, some people don't. Vaku, I assume, dead at night, trying to sleep.
Yeah.
There it is again. That same
Is it
old
all-
tapping. It's very deliberate in the same pattern each and every time. Some of them are almost drowned out as if it was a slight scratch. Other ones are very precise taps. And you set off searching for it.
Yes.
So, tonight, as you are looking around, it seems very, very focused tonight for some reason. And as you look, you don't find your co-conspirator until eventually you reach the boarding ramp, the airlocks to the vessel. And you find that she is sitting beside the door, just kind of listening. And as soon as she sees you, she beckons you over.
Yeah, what's up?
Just hold on, sit down and just listen. And she just kind of like puts her ear up to the door.
Yeah.
And you can tell that her work uniform is pretty disheveled. Like she has not gotten much sleep and
I'm
any
surprised
point
she
tonight.
didn't take up my little idea.
No, most of the crew were pretty dismissive of your idea and you could not find her.
Fair enough.
So you sit down and you just listen. And eventually, from the exterior door of the airlock, you hear it is coming from outside of the airlock.
Mm.
I am in your walls.
Space horror, space horror, space horror.
Oh, boy. I don't think it's good to go outside the ship. I don't feel like doing any EVA work.
She just kind of like gives you a very strange look as if it didn't even occur to her to go outside.
Oh no.
She's gonna puts both of her hands up and assures you, I don't plan on going out there. Can we not check the cameras? Something?
Okay, let's check the camera, see if there's anything out there.
Yeah, eventually taking you kind of by arm into the command deck, you begin to check through the cameras and see the thin, wisping wind surrounding the ship. And you just don't find anything, and eventually the taps stop. Now, this process goes on for the next 2 days, bringing you to day 6.
So are you not going to tell her about Yarich's little contraption to drown out the noise? Or are you just going to keep this up to yourself?
I think there's something out there. It's not just the void doing its thing. That, like,
Who are you saying this to?
I imagine probably just talking to the group in the relaxation lounge. At this point, if you're spending sleepless nights looking for this thing, he's looking pretty, like, tired just constantly.
Are you sure about that? Or are you just zeroing in on something and trying to find a reason to keep yourself occupied in these long days in the Echo?
Listen,
No.
if it's gonna be this much of a problem for you, I'll bring my computer and with you tonight, and
yeah, it
we
was
can
by the
search.
airlock.
You've all been talking
There
about
was
this
some
tap for the past few
tapping.
days, and I really think you're blowing this out of proportion.
Let's just go by the airlock, like, later.
Hold on,
and
here's what you do.
sense it.
Tim Tom gives you like a pair of headphones and he transfers him the 10-hour audio loop of static. Play that through the earphones. Best night's sleep you'll ever have.
Look, Vaku, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I don't think you should be chasing dragons. I think you should be counting sheep.
I want to investigate it just to be sure. If we go there tonight,
If you
and there's
really
nothing.
want to investigate, I think you should do so with a rested mind.
All right. How about this? Tonight, you listen to the uh, frequency I've made, and get a good night's sleep. And I'll go to an airlock myself, check on my tablet, and see what I can find.
I think
If I can't find anything, I will come. I will. We will drop this, and you will listen to this, and just relax.
that would be a
Okay?
good plan if this tapping was anything at all.
Just try your
I
little
will-
noise thingy and
Can I
You
send a
look.
private message to 447? Like,
Yeah,
Alright.
I mean,
text?
we have fucking communicators you can do that with. Yeah.
I send him a private message. If you feel like it is concerning, I can give him a sleep aid.
I reply simply, don't worry about it right now.
Okay.
He is probably not used to the echo and traveling on ships for extended periods of time. He's not from a society that typically does that kind of thing. I think it'll be fine.
Thumbs up emoji.
Yeah.
So, I imagine you will get settled for the night after expending most of your energy doing daily activities, training, shooting.
Yari's
whatever.
just gonna not do too much until the night.
Fair enough. So, Vaku, you turn on your machine. Yarich, you wait. And honestly, Vaku, it's not even necessarily that you like. It's not helping that you can't hear it. Like, it's not there. You can't hear the taps anymore. Like, how are you supposed to know if it's there if you can't hear it? It's that kind of attitude.
sleeping. What? But
So eventually it just kind of starts to grate just a little bit, like a bit annoying that you can't hear the tapping, because it's been freaking you out. Like, you have to know what it is, and what if it's happening while you're sleeping?
yeah. Well, if it actually is something, and I'm not able to hear it, if it turns into something serious, then
Yeah. So eventually I imagine you get fed up and start wandering off.
Yari's just
Yeah.
at the bulk door, trying to scan the area at this point, trying to figure out
I'm just trying to not. I don't want to draw attention from Yarich, so I'm just going to try to like hide.
Fair enough. You kind of hide around, and it's not necessarily like
hard against.
intentionally trying to hide. It's just like basically just trying to keep away from the other crew members. That being said, as you all are searching around trying to find the desperate source of this noise eventually being drawn back to the airlock, Oth, I imagine that you see the same lady from the last 6 nights currently like curled up in a ball with a data pad in her hand, just kind of tapping in rhythm with it.
You've been hearing it too?
Yes, I don't think it's natural. It keeps doing the same tapping every night. It's doing something.
I agree. It keeps doing the same thing. It does not sound like it comes from like the wind or anything. But same time, I can't do anything if I can't get sleep.
I think it's like a code.
Let me put in the code, the tapping on my see if I can find if it's Morse code or something else.
I can't quite get it right. I'm so exhausted. You can see her put
Here.
down the tablet as you start tapping it out. Since you're pretty well rested, it's pretty easy for you. You follow the rhythm of this weird, unnerving tapping, and eventually it stops, and you are left with nothing but the sound of the wind outside. You are left with the translate button.
I start trying to translate this.
Well, you go ahead and let the computer process these words. And these taps are indeed a form of Morse code.
Okay.
And what they say is, "Let me in."
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
I vaguely
So-
had the
Told you
idea
there was
earlier
some
to like
shit.
sit there and
So,
listen to it to see if it was
so
Morse
the
code.
Pez,
I didn't.
the Pez, the wings, and everything just kind of starts poofing out, kind of like, oh. He's not gonna
What-
say this and
What did
say,
it say?
well, wherever listen, if we worry about this thing, we're gonna let it in, and we don't want to do that.
Let it in? Why would it want in? How did it even survive out there?
I don't know. I've seen horrifying things. I don't want to see another horrifying thing. I've seen enough horrifying things for my rest of my 40 lives. 40 years, rather.
She just kind of like nods in agreement with you.
Listen, there's something out there. I don't want to let in. I don't want to see another thing out like that again. But listen, I have something that'll drown out these taps. Listen to it. It's there. Just remember, it's there, but just relax. It
Yeah.
can't hurt us.
I'm listening
It
in
can't
on
hurt us.
this. Like,
Yeah, I
on it.
imagine. Yeah, you're just listening in from behind a crate.
It can't hurt us. If it could, it would have already done so.
She
So-
seems to be in like full agreement with you. Takes up the white noise device, holding it in both of her hands, and is just like, finally, maybe she can get some sleep. Like maybe now that I know that it's something, instead of just wandering each night. She gets up and wanders off.
So,
So,
Yari just go.
I'm just
go-
gonna slink off back to the crew quarters and just
Mine-
kind of like tell them what's going on.
Yeah, so the next day, day
My-
7.
Yarich actually doesn't get any sleep after that. His thoughts goes to the aspect and when he was first resurrected.
No, like he immediately just goes to, like the crew members, like, I followed RH.
I imagine that you have to wake up everybody if you're just immediately running over.
He's part. Yarich is just gonna wait until morning, personally, to kind of talk about it.
Honestly, with the amount of bullshit that this is causing, I imagine that most of the crew members, most of like the deck and the technicians and the fucking security members, after getting enough of this nonsense from presumably the crew member that you've been finding and helping find this noise, they're keeping their doors locked, basically. Like they're tired of hearing about it. They don't want to be woken up in the middle of the night. I imagine that's probably how 447 is feeling.
Yeah, more or less. I have. It's been a few days now of nonstop. Man, this tapping is really annoying me. What the fuck? And like I've just viewed the party as taking what is a common issue and blowing it far out of proportion. So I'm not really entertaining it at this point.
Tapping. It's Morse code.
So
It's asking to be let in.
yeah, I imagine this is probably going to be the morning conversation. Once everybody has gathered and you're just kind of discussing your findings from last night.
Well, don't let it in.
What is it?
I don't know. Don't let it in.
I'm sorry, you're telling me that tapping is Morse code.
Yes, Yarich investigated last night. I overheard him talking to the crew
Yeah.
member who was really disheveled looking.
Yarich is actually going to come out of his room at this point, kind of slightly sleepless, kind of stuck in the thoughts of seeing aspect in the shadow world and just kind of the think about being stitched back together and just kind of something horrifying just kind of overtaking his mind.
You know, you've been sleeping pretty well these past few days, all things considered, and now you look like you've been hit by a bus.
I haven't slept in 3 days.
Not for the same reason.
Plenty of coffee still in his glass.
He is now drinking coffee out of one of those gallon-sized water jugs.
But this thing, I don't know why, it brings up memories of aspect stitching me back together, and it's not. I don't like it.
Well, I could say ignore it. How does that sound?
Well, if it's having to ask repeatedly to be let in over the course of days, it sounds to me like it doesn't have much power.
I agree.
Do we have any
And-
like external
What
security
if it
cameras we could look
forces
at?
its way in?
Wouldn't
It
it have
can't
done
force
that
it-
by
it-
now? How long has this been happening?
That's exactly what I said. It would have already done it by now. But same time,
You know, your reach. I trust you, but can I see some evidence here? This does just sound like ship noises to me.
all right. When we tap, so does this ever happen during the day cycle?
No, not really. It did at first, but then it just kind of adjusted towards our night cycles.
All right. I when this tapping happens again, how about you see how it taps out?
Alright. If you're telling me this is really what's going on, then I suppose I have to confront it.
Yes. Either way, whatever it's doing, it can't get in, and I don't want let
Well,
it in.
Here's a question. If it's tapping with a message, have you tried tapping back?
My antenna perks up, and I face palm with one of my claws. Why didn't I tap back? Absolutely not.
You mean you don't intend to?
No. I said, why did I not tap it back?
Oh,
Absolutely not.
are you sure a more pertinent question wouldn't be, what are you?
I don't care at this point. It's going to keep tapping. And I don't want it tapping anymore.
Are
I'm just
you?
saying, if this is really some kind of entity communicating to us through echo space in Morse code, I can only assume that means it understands Morse code and can be communicated with. No?
Alright. We'll talk to it tonight.
Here's an aside. Do I know Morse code?
Oh, I probably imagine so.
Okay, I was just curious. Because if I knew Morse code, you figured I would have picked up on this myself pretty quick, but
I mean,
Easy.
maybe.
easy.
It's probably like
enough.
really slow Morse code, so it'd
Yeah.
be kind of hard to pick up on unless you're really paying attention to it.
Yeah, could just be something.
It's one of those things where unless you're really thinking about it, it doesn't really occur to you.
Okay, fair enough. I just didn't pay it much mind because, like you said, ship noises.
Of course. So you all are going to get up on the 7th night
Yes.
and try to investigate and maybe even talk to this thing.
Perhaps against my better judgment, I'm going to entertain this and go along with Yarich and Vaku and whoever else, and I'm gonna listen to the taps for myself and see if I can make out the message.
Tim Tom's gonna simply say, as you guys all get ready to go do this, all right, guys, don't let the demons in the ship, please. They'll eat our souls.
You say that,
Please,
but
Doctor.
you don't know what's out there.
Please, Doctor. I have no soul.
Let's see.
No soul.
So, at night, you all get up, form a little group, and then walk over towards the airlock after it has started tapping. And this time, you're actually fairly surprised. The bottom deck, the cargo deck with the airlocks, the lights are on. You actually do proceed down. Normally it's just security personnel making a patrol and maybe a single night shift technician that is just kind of wandering around and keeping a check on things. But you actually find that the deck is in full illumination, as if someone had already been here. You wander over towards the airlock, and find that within the right side of the ship, the first section where you guys have been spending most of your time observing and interacting with this thing, you find that the lady, whose rings under the eyes have only gotten worse and worse, is already standing there at the control mechanism for the airlock. And by the time that you all get closer, she kind of turns over, and you can see that there's almost a desperation in her eyes, and she just goes, I have to see it. I have to see it just to know what it is.
She's about to open the
Leap.
airlock.
And then
Leap it.
she hits the lever, and the door slams.
Oh, she's getting into the airlock. She's gonna blast herself out of it.
Got
Okay.
a fucking pressure suit.
And at that point, you see the lights, the yellow flickering lights that just kind of revolve, begin to spin.
You're
Do I
There's a
have-
way you can stop this ASAP.
Do I have any,
Yari-
like, is there any way I can make communications contact to the bridge?
I imagine you probably could, yeah.
I'm going
Yarich
to
will
call Zacharias
activate
and say,
emergency lockdown
Bar all access
procedures.
to external airlocks now. Somebody's trying to open a lock.
So, Yarich, go ahead and give me a computers check. I will say to put, to give
Yeah,
the
that's a good
urgency
roll. Damn.
urgency of this, go ahead and make a diplomacy check. That way you can clearly and concisely iterate your directions to the
I'm
bridge
going-
crew.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say you need to. I'm gonna call him up and say you need to lock down the ship now.
I'm trying to get.
18
I guess I could like try to shout like, don't do that, don't. Just diplomacy.
So, as you will continue on Yarich, you find that the actual mechanisms to initiate an emergency override are present, and you begin immediately working and tapping on them like, I need to make sure that this procedure cannot come to a fruition. It is met with limited success. The override does engage, however, the sirens continue to go off. And as the doors on the other side begin to open, the thin glass window that separates the interior airlock door from the exterior airlock, like the actual airlock room itself, as the exterior door opens just a portion before the deck crew overrides the actual process itself, and the doors lock into place in a partially open state. A gray mist pours into the room like wind and just kind of rushes over and fills into it.
What the fuck?
And it is just roiling, pouring wind that is turning in on itself.
It's in the chamber lock, right?
Yeah, you get a small window into the actual airlock chamber, and it is just filled with this gray mist wind.
Is this typical of the Echo?
You've never really observed the echo directly.
Okay.
So
Uh,
Yarich is going to see if he can close the exterior door from this panel and get the basically push the mist back out through evacuation systems.
So I imagine you actually hear, surprisingly, the lady talking from within, completely obscured by the shroud, no shadow or anything to indicate where she is in the airlock. But the fact that the door has opened indicates that she wasn't blown out through the pressure, which is terrifying. And all you hear from her end is, What are you? And then silence.
How the fuck would her voice get through if there's? I guess it's not a vacuum then. We can still hear her voice. There's like something
Yeah.
up there.
Darge, can you close that door right now?
I'm eye on it. I tried to close it already and prevent it from opening in first place, but
It seems like the bridge crew, which, by the way, there are emergency lights, like something bad is going on.
Yeah,
There's
I'm gonna
probably
call
a
the-
team
I'm-
already coming
I'm
in.
going to approach the interior doors and look closely. Can I discern if the woman is still standing or otherwise
So-
there?
Guess I could take a peek as well.
You approach the door, the window, the slot, both you and Vaku. As you look closely, you see a shadow as she, the crew member, approaches the inner door and raises up her hand, and on the window slot begins to tap.
I'm listening to this in the context of Morse code now. Can I make heads or tails of it?
And it just begins. Let me in.
I'm going to lift a finger and tap back. What are you?
At that point, as you are tapping back to it, the exterior door shuts closed, and all of the warning lights as several security members are showing up armed and armored in the typical House Stenham Royal Guard appeal. What was a standing creature, the lady falls prone before it can give any kind of reply.
I'm going to stand aside and let security take it from here.
So the interior doors slide open, and there is a bit of a hiss as you can tell that air is pouring into the chamber. Not extremely, as if there was still a low pressure, but enough of a disturbance to make your ears pop. And as the guards approach and begin to pick her up, because, you know, it is a crew member, they're getting ready to haul her to the sick bay in an emergency fashion, trying not to disturb her. Doesn't look injured in any way. Do you all want to take a look at this person as they pass by you?
I'll
Yes.
take a gander.
Yes.
I don't know if
Can I make a life science? No, I don't have a plan that.
Oh, this isn't life science, unless you wanted to make a medicine check.
I'll make a medicine check.
I could make a medicine check too, or a perception check.
I'm just going to make perception to see if I can make heads or tails.
I'm not there. I am drinking coffee.
Where the fuck is it?
So-
Of course.
You all see
Where the
this
fuck is my
person
perception on?
being carried away. And the immediate thing that you notice is that all of the color in her skin and her wardrobe has been drained. Any of the pale, like, cream color is now a stark contrast light gray. Her skin is a pallorly white, and her eyes are glazed over, almost missing irises, as if a fog had just descended over her color scheme.
Not breathing, I presume.
Currently, right now, she is breathing, but it
Oh,
looks like there are
shit.
no real higher brain functions. Looks like some kind of coma. And as soon as you see her, she is being hauled over to the medical bay.
Alright, Yarich will follow behind.
Question. Just curiosity. Tim Tom, as having a result of like being a medical professional, would they get him to come help with this, or?
Not unless you came of your own volition.
Oh well, Tim Tom would have no clue about what's going on at the moment. So
Fair
I
enough.
am going to go walk to the bridge to tell them what just happened.
So you're basically getting ready to speak a vocal
I will
report.
go with Ankos.
I will as well.
Yarich will keep a track on the lady and try to.
Actually,
Okay,
before
I'm
as,
good.
as
If Vaku, if you are going with Ankos, I'll go with your reach because I'm trying to do the no one is alone rule here.
Alright.
You both follow the team that brings her to the med bay, and the rest of you, more specifically Ungos and Vaku, head up to the bridge to inform them what just happened. At this point, Zacharias himself has awoken, very much tired, but not in his captain's garb. He's basically thrown on something and is already in the medical bay overlooking this new crew member as they set her down into a bed and begin examinations. So, after about 10 or so minutes of just overviewing everything, Zacharias seems to conclude, just kind of sitting down, there's a bit of sweat pouring off of his brow, because he sees this and he's wondering, like, what the hell is going on? Eventually, he concludes, after various medical procedures and scans, that she is essentially in a coma. There is
vegetative
no
state.
there is no real higher brain function. It is a vegetative state, as 447 had mentioned. The vitals are completely fine, except for the heart rate being slowed because, sleep-like state.
Is there
It
nothing that can
is
be done for her?
it is the strangest medical case I have ever concluded. What happened?
I
She
will.
exposed herself to the echo.
He just
We
kind of takes
Opened it.
some moments,
we were en
puts
route to an airlock to investigate some strange noises we had heard, and by the time we'd arrived there, she was throwing the lever to the external airlock doors and managed to expose herself briefly.
I managed to lock the system down from opening further than it already had, but it was already too late by that
We saw
point.
some gray mist roll in while the doors were partially open. She
We
acted like
heard her
she was
speak.
talking to someone, and that was the last that happened before she fell unresponsive. There was a time where she got back up, went over to the internal airlock door, and began tapping in Morse code.
Morse code.
Yes.
And what did it say?
Let me in.
Did it say let me in that time? I think it did, yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Let me in.
He just kind of nods. He gets up slowly, straightens out his tie, and then pulls the pistol off of his hip and points it at her head.
What? How you doing?
What is best for the crew? Just kind of snaps off a single shot, and this person's head cavity basically just explodes.
After this,
Oh.
I'm going to look back up at Zacharias. We have heard these tapping for the past few days.
He simply takes a moment to go ahead and recharge his pistol's battery from the deck's own
I
slots.
wipe a little of the blood that probably got on my visor away as I continue talking about the situation.
He takes a moment, holsters his pistol, and then begins calling the technicians to go ahead and put on their hazardous things for blood to go ahead and clean up this corpse. It is a medical bay, so it is prepared for messes like this.
I had written off these noises as part of the ship's function. I have lived on Navy vessels before, and strange noises are no thing to be alarmed about, typically. But it was brought to my attention recently that it was Morse code, and this has been going on for apparently quite some time.
Zacharias, who isn't really responding, most of the security team seem pretty unnerved at the action that he's just taken, but he goes ahead and, with basically rubber suited and all slipped over his attire, he basically picks up the body and begins walking off with it. My father told me once that there were creatures living in the space between spaces, that to trifle with them was to trifle with your own soul. This is one of those cases. As he's walking, it was better that I put her out of her mercy now, for this body is likely not hers anymore.
I'm not questioning that. You did what you had to.
I knew it. I knew there was something out there.
So, about an hour, he seems to be bringing her towards the cryopreservation section, specifically for food, just to kind of have a space to set this thing in a sterile environment. Just simply setting it down away from all of the food on the floor, along with some plastic wrappings to keep the blood from pooling. Once we have the capacity to give her a proper burial, I will. But for the moment, this will have to suffice, wrapped in plastic and deep freeze. And he just kind of simply puts a hand down on her shoulder and just kind of goes, I'm sorry.
If I
gets
may
up.
make a humble suggestion,
And turns over
have
to
you
you.
considered incineration for the body for now?
I don't know what her family would have preferred, and I'm not quite certain incineration would be the best alternative. I'm not certain if I want to return her ashes to her family or her whole body.
Well, I'm not sure her family want to see her like this either. And beyond that, my main concern is she was exposed to something alien in Echo Space. I don't know exactly how that works. I'm just a soldier, but I'm not sure we can rule out contamination of some kind.
He seems to judge your query with enough validation, just kind of nods. I need time to think it over, so for the moment I will have a guard stationed outside of this deep freeze unit to keep an eye on the corpse. If it does anything strange, it's straight to the incinerator. Is that fine?
Very well.
May Yarj make a science check to see what took out the color itself?
Yeah, go ahead.
Would it be physical science?
No, it would be computers.
Computers? Interesting.
I mean, you said specifically that your device allows you to judge magical
Right.
energy readings, right?
Right.
27. So you go ahead and continue judging this and trying to get a bead. There is typically an energy reading that kind of smoothly settles in most things. However, the energy reading that you get off of this body seems to be almost like shuddering and writhing underneath the skin of reality. Just kind of roiling through this dead body.
I don't think it's safe to keep this body around. There's Yari just going to point out this to Zacharias and show them the different readings between the 447 and this person.
He kind of leans over and just like, what am I looking at?
You know how there's the microwave background radiation? Well, people have something similar. This person's radiation, it's doing
Microwave background radiation. That's stellar talk. What are you talking about?
A person gives off energy, yes?
I'm not that educated in things of that nature. That being said, I do know that there are minute radioactive elements in our body that cause us to give off actual light, so...
Yes. This radiated radiations are doing weird thing with her body afterwards. I don't think this is safe.
Well, I suppose you are right. He just kind of takes a moment to think about what you've said and how much it confuses him.
It's your call. You're the captain.
I suppose it's better safe than sorry. And he goes ahead and picks this thing up and continues walking back into the cargo area. And simply wanders over. I imagine that they don't quite have a incinerator of sorts. Not in this vessel, but they do have a waste evacuation system, something that specifically shunts materials off into the vacuum.
Oh, nice.
We don't have the capacity to render a body to ash. But if it comes to the safety of the crew, then I will dispose of these remains.
An unfortunate way for this to be done, but if it's for the safety of the crew, then I suppose it's unavoidable.
How about we get some final goodbye pictures for the family.
Simply
I
end
after you say
wordlessly.
final goodbye pictures for the family, I look at you and I kind of growl in a low voice. She was shot in the head.
Fair enough.
He is already loading her into the evacuation
I'd rather
tube.
not people remember her as a mutilated corpse.
Fair enough.
That's part of the reason I suggested cremation.
Fair enough.
So, as he loads it in and swivels the hat latch, which, by the way, does not have a window into place, you are left with the cycling noises of the actual the pressurization system getting ready to launch this out. Until eventually, it reaches its climax and he hits a simple button, and I am being interrupted. Give me a simple moment. Yeah, thank you.
Fair enough. I'll pause the. Do you want me to pause the recording for now, or?
Yeah, you're fine. You can actually give me just one moment. I'll finish my description.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So, as the cycling system completes, he hits the final button in the procedure. And there is the explosion of wind shunting this cargo piece out back into the space of the Echo. However, it passes. Gas. It smells like gas. Anyway. There is definitely the sound of something slamming against the inside of the tube, as if something were holding on. And you hear this scratching noise. Until
like this.
eventually there is a shuffling and then silence.
Hate it.
Let's not open that.
Hate it. Absolutely hate it. No, we're not fucking with that.
Wow, I actually hate everything about this.
This is not sweet. Do we have another one of these in the thing, or was this the only one?
This was the only one. And you can see the color in his face is drained out.
So we're not opening this back up for 14 days now. Well, now 7 days now.
I mean, he kind of pulls off the pistol from its holster. If it's for the safety of the crew, I think we need to open it.
Yari's just going to pull out his weapon and gets ready.
So I'm actually going to ask, is that chute rated to survive a fragmentation grenade?
He kind of ponders the question. There are certain limits to damage you must keep in mind.
I understand, but if we can just put a little surprise in there for whatever's wormed its way into our trash chute.
If this grenade goes off and punctures the hole and this whatever it is seeps in, that would be a whole new problem.
You're right. At the same time, though, we're about to engage in some negligent discharge.
He just seems to think for a while before he makes up his mind. Get your weapons ready.
Alright, with that, with my order standing, I unsling my assault rifle and prepare.
Get my staff ready.
He has his pistol braced.
I check it, make sure the mag is full, and shoulder it.
And his hand reaches for the lever and just kind of begins to twist it on the surface of this hatch until eventually you hear a of it readjusting to the outside pressure. And then he begins to slowly move it forward, just a crack to see if there is anything. And because there is a light in this evacuation pod, you all see nothing. So everybody breathes out a sigh of relief.
Yari
before
just
the
going.
hatch is opened the rest of the way, and you actually do witness to what happened. You can see the actual surface of the pod almost seems to have deep gouges on either side, just filled with fragments of presumably flesh and bone, as whatever was holding itself in here dug in to the point where it was probably scraping away the body itself until it eventually hit the outside lip and was shunted back into space.
This thing did not want to leave the ship, did it?
It does not appear so.
Want to be let in? I think
I'm
getting out.
glad
would
we
be
made the
against
right
what-
choice.
I sling my rifle back over my shoulder. Burial it.
Yarich has not put away his rifle. It's still trained on the spot despite him being relieved.
And at this point, we can go ahead and put a pause to the recording while I go fetch some food.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
That's on the recording, by the way.
Good.
There you go.
Alright, so you all just witnessing this. The captain of the ship puts his hands up and just kind of, now that that sordid affair is over, no one else should touch the airlocks.
You're right. Maybe
Agreed.
cordon off the tunnels leading down there.
Very well.
It's a shame that it had to come to a burial in space, but even worse that it ended like that.
I completely agree. Well,
We should take some solace in the fact that it seems like it can't get in without intervention.
I would hope. And with that, Zacharias is going to continue on his way.
So,
Yari just gently going to go to the door and close it slowly before tightening it.
Close what slowly?
The garbage door.
Sure. Yeah, you go ahead and twist it until it's shut.
I've been staring at the garbage chute this whole time, and once your reach finishes closing it and starts to walk away, I'm gonna...
Yari's just gonna walk backwards away from it.
I'm just gonna say, you reach... You think you can, get me one of those white noise machines?
Oh no.
Yarich nods.
Now that I know what it actually is, I don't like that.
Just hope the tapping doesn't come back.
I can't pretend that's part of the ship anymore. Not now that I know. I think
So.
we should probably...
Yarich gives him a copy of the program to play on his own device.
You all go ahead and try to get some sleep, though after witnessing that, I imagine it's pretty fruitless.
It sleeps like a baby.
Tim Thomas.
I would
fucking
like to
out.
say we should probably tell the rest of the party about what just fucking happened. Like, shit.
Yeah.
You'll probably see me walking back towards the crew compartments or the med bay as I see, get to the bridge and see that Zacharias wasn't there.
Yeah.
And hearing that everyone was already apparently handling the issue kind of made
So-
it useless.
Yeah, eventually everyone is probably woken up, even the ones that were sleeping, and gathered to just make a general announcement. But before that actually happens, the intercom activates. There is a brief segment of just Zacharias telling everybody that is asleep to wake up, and then making
Wake
a
up.
following announcement that the lower decks, the cargo, and the airlock doors are now off limits for the rest of the journey. Only to verified personnel are allowed to patrol that area.
Yeah. Yari's complies fully.
Yeah, obviously. Shit. I have no
I
interest
don't
in
have
going
any
back.
reason to fuck
no more
around with airlocks anymore. Yeah.
We know what it is. We don't want to gain back.
Yeah.
At least we know it's not good for us.
Thought I was going crazy. No, it's some spooky shit. No. We don't fuck with that.
So, after all of this has occurred, and most of the crew gets a pretty detailed explanation over the event.
So whenever I was in the Concordian Navy, like, we used Echo Space, right? It was roughly the same technology, same space between spaces kind of method of getting.
It is definitely similar to the Syndicate grade Echo space technology, yeah. I doubt they called it the Echo.
They probably
because
didn't.
That's more of a recent cultural.
They probably didn't, but the Echo is basically a space between spaces that has always existed, so it's safe to assume we also used it. In my travels, have I ever experienced fucking anything like this? Like
No.
creatures and people getting fucking turned into vegetables by mist?
Definitely not.
God damn. Well, fuck. Even with my a comparatively extensive military career, that's gotta bother me.
Levi,
Yes, Devin.
Space is haunted.
can I plumb
Space
sort of
haunted.
the knowledge that I have from the order to see if there's any way to like better protect ourselves?
Can you make a mysticism check?
I sure can.
Oh,
That's cool.
So, you in particular would know that in your orders, there is one thing that wards off outsiders like nothing else, and it is the brand of the Pale King. The literal figurehead, the god of worship in this territory. The Pale King is basically just the antithesis of the chaos of the Echo.
Okay.
447's not gonna like that.
Symbols of that nature seem to ward off strange and supernatural phenomenon, and it's very typical for people who are experiencing phenomenon like that whilst they are immersed in echo space on board courtly ships and order-related operations to engage in some form of devotion, which helps just kind of ward off these strange things.
Okay. So is it a thing like that they have to be branded with it, or is it just like the existence of the sigil itself?
It's more the act of the devotion itself, like the symbol being appreciated and kind of, that...
It's a ritual or a prayer.
Okay. So yeah, knowing this and hearing that we're starting to have issues like that in in his quarters with 447, Karth is going to sort of he's actually going to bite his thumb and use his blood to paint a small version of the sigil, and sort of meditate in front of it, kind of trying to focus his energy.
I'm in the room when this happens.
Yeah, like right there in front of the desk, so that way Karth can be like seated facing it.
Yeah, I imagine 447 is trying to get some sleep.
I have my comm unit wired into my helmet playing that white noise, so I don't have to think about the fucking Morse code tapping.
Meanwhile, you just keep on hearing Om Nom Chocolat, Om Nom Chocolat, Om Nom Chocolat.
Can I hear or notice what he's doing over the sound of my white noise?
No,
I mean,
most
no.
of those prayers tend to be pretty silent, so a bit of marking a sigil is painted, and you take a moment just to really just kind of immerse yourself back into the spiritual side of the order. You take a moment, you hope that your pale lord is capable of protecting you on this vast journey to places unknown. I imagine that it's probably a length of time until 447 gets up, maybe to go get something to drink, and he spots the bloody symbol on the wall.
And Karth is just kind of eyes closed, really, really focused. If 447 is paying really close attention, he may see Karth breathe, but that's not,
That's not what's important at this current
I
time.
just stare at the symbol, not blinking. I ball up a hand into a fist. What the hell are you doing?
One eye is going to open. I'm hoping that I'm protecting us from whatever thing got in the ship earlier.
How?
It's said that the sigil of the Pale King can ward off darker entities while in the Echo.
I can't tell you how many times I used that symbol as a bullseye.
Well, I encourage you not to, since on the other wall is the moth and the bear.
Yeah, you're lucky it's not attached to something I'd rather shoot that's not them.
Either way, hopefully this is the one and only time that I'll have to deal with it this way.
So,
Hope so. I'm gonna grab my stuff from the capsule, and I'm gonna knock on Baku's door.
fair enough. Sam, how do you plead? How do you respond?
Okay. What's going on?
Do you mind if I
Well-
bunk with you from here on out?
It's fine.
Alright.
Getting kind of lonely in here anyway.
Yeah. As I go in and start putting my stuff down, got a little skeeved out by some rituals my bunkmate was up to. Can't abide it.
He's one of them hallowed court guys.
Don't remind
least-
me.
I mean, I don't really have much of an opinion on those guys, but
I'm not
I
asking
know
you
you
to.
have beef with them.
I'm not asking you to have a strong opinion. I'm just asking you don't draw any pale king sigils in your blood on the wall.
No, I just tend to meditate on things sometimes when I'm alone.
Great. Works for me. I'm not gonna make a peep. You'll hardly notice I'm here.
Yeah.
And with that, I'm gonna climb into a bunk and try to get some more rest.
So, a couple more days pass. The tapping does continue, and it's definitely a lot more present now. Especially after being witnessed in such a manner, it seems very insistent at just making its presence known. It is on day 9 that something else interesting happens. Instead of the regular tapping, you all are actually given a warning, a simple blaring, a minor alert is going through the ship. I imagine that it takes maybe 2 minutes before you all are up and settled before the intercom sparks up and basically tells the Deathless to come to the command room.
Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
So you all gather.
Might as well.
In your varying states, you are confronted with Zacharias once again by himself this time. Even his security personnel are dismissed from the room. And as soon as you all are settled in your chairs, he goes ahead and crosses his hands. I know that we've been dealing with strange phenomenon these past week and a half. There is a situation of merit that needs discussing.
By all means.
Now, it is a rare occurrence for one to encounter another ship within the Echo.
I
However-
raise an eyebrow behind my helmet.
Yarge's black eyes kind of widen somehow as
Crosses his
attack-
arms.
pointing at
Tim
forward
Tom
back.
looks tired.
However, it seems just that has happened. A distant signal, an IFF signature, reading for, well, Dominion ships.
Tim Tom raises his hands.
I've
Raise
already
one
taken the
hand.
precaution of deactivating any signatures that we would have offered, so it's likely that they know that we're somewhere in the vicinity of this portion of the Echo. However, with everything that has been happening, I'm not certain if we want to reveal our location.
So, I am going to lean back in my chair with my arms crossed. Who's sitting next to me?
I guess we can say that I am for expediency's sake.
I'm gonna kind of say in a low voice, leaning over to you. Think we'll find any frozen tin soldiers in that one?
I guess it depends on whether or not they open the doors. I hate every single part of this.
I'm
Yeah, I
just
just
saying it's a
done
bit
asked-
odd for this to
well-
happen twice in my life.
Is
That's one hell of a
is there any
coincidence.
engines power or anything from it, or is it inactive?
Well, they're registering a full and intense IFF signature, meaning that they have some power within their ship. We're still fooling a sensor sweep, but we don't know the status of it until that comes back with a return.
And you said they're still identifying as Dominion?
That would be correct.
Alright, good to know. So, I take it you want us to do some EVA work.
Asking for EVA work in a place like this is insanely dangerous. I was thinking either a meet and greet, a simple pass and transmission, or we stay silent within this shroud and hope that we go unnoticed.
Well, if you can verify that it really is a Dominion IFF tag and not some kind of
False flag?
False flag, I suppose, is the right word.
Very well. I'll ask you all to wait here for perhaps 10 more minutes while the scanners perform their full sweep.
And remember, you're still the captain here. It's your call.
This is very true, but you all have offered quite an amount of assistance.
Do what you have to
Yarish is going to ask, may I also see what the signatures are from it?
Well, I'm going to bring the readings to you after they give us a return. And he kind of puts a hand to his ear and just simply says, Dana, have we gotten a return yet? And you get a response. Yes, Captain. I'll bring it to you right away.
So as we're waiting, I'm just going to mention we have already encountered one dangerous anomaly in the Echo. We can't rule out the possibility that this is some kind of trap or lure, bait, whatever.
If things exist in the Echo, could they falsify things?
We already know things exist in the Echo, you reach for a fact.
But never mind. I'm
When
probably thinking
we
too
were-
far out back.
When we were traversing what you call the Echo in my time, it was a hell of a lot calmer than this. I never once saw anyone get turned into a vegetable by mist that seeped in through the airlock. That's
Did you
a new development in the last 1.5 thousand years, I'd say.
Yeah.
So things have changed from when I was active.
I've only known the Echo to be a dangerous place.
There's no doubt it's dangerous, but things, creatures lurking within, and for us to have encountered two separate vessels in the Echo, first the Majesty and now this, that's one hell of a coincidence.
I don't think it's a coincidence, but I'm not sure what it is exactly yet either.
That's my point. If it's a coincidence, it's a hell of a coincidence. My gut tells me we're being lured, but if we can verify
Well,
those
if you
IFF
think it's a
tags-
trap, just
Nothing
continue
good.
on. If you genuinely
Nothing
can.
good's come out of the
trap.
Echo so
But at
far.
the same time, and you are right, Vaku, nothing good has come out of the Echo in our entire journey. But if this is legitimately broadcasting on Dominion frequencies, and it can be verified as a Dominion vessel IFF, part of me would feel wrong for not trying to attempt some kind of rescue. I was in that exact kind of situation not long ago. I wouldn't have wanted
See
you
if
to leave
there's
me behind.
something there. Worst case scenario, it's a trap, or everyone's dead,
Or there's one
Hey, we got
survivor
looped.
hiding on board holding out hope. And if that's the case, I don't want to leave it behind.
Well, I'd like for us to be the White Knights. I'd rather us not take on more danger than we already are being in the Echo.
So at this point, so said Dana walks into the room and plugs something into the holographic projection table, and you all see a reticle flash and display. It is flickering, probably because of echo disturbances, but the sensor reading returns a rather who here would be familiar with Dominion ships?
I'm definitely 447.
Well, no. I mean, I was on Concordian vessels. The Dominion's like a bunch of
I'm not
a bunch of
explicitly familiar
royal
with them.
houses that have banded together in the more modern age, right?
Right.
Yeah.
I'm not explicitly familiar with them, but I probably have the highest culture here, so
I feel.
can take
I know
a guess
Karth
at
is
it.
more like fucking hallowed court space, but they have some ties to the Dominion, so maybe he
Pick
could.
up some culture.
If,
Well,
if
what-
you want to
what
give
it-
me a culture check, Ankos, I would say that you're pretty obsessive with military like heavy hardware.
Well, this is a military thing. Can I use fucking my profession soldier?
I'll say that you can, yeah.
Okay. Where is my profession soldier? There it is. Hey, wow.
Oh,
That's
There
a
you go,
20.
that's a 20.
Nat 20 for the recording.
You all kind of take a moment just to glance over and gloss over this, and for the most part, the technology itself is pretty unremarkable considering its nature or origin. However, as you're looking across it, I imagine 447, probably after hearing anything about the Baldor Syndicate War, not the Baldor Syndicate War, but just kind of like the general war between the houses and the Syndicate at its current state and in the past, it probably did you some good to look into the nature of their, like, technology. Now, this is a clear-cut example of a House Baldor craft. However, there are certain things about it that just seem weird. Like certain structures that you would know are like decorations or any implications of sigils or alliance seem to almost be worn down, or new structures replace those simple sigils. Different ones that you don't necessarily recognize.
I'm gonna.
It seems suspicious.
So I'm gonna cross my arms and kind of walk the group through this as we look at the hologram of the ship. This is clearly some kind of House of Baldor craft, and if you pay close enough attention, these sigils here are faded, and there are other simple structures that have been retrofitted to this vessel. And over here, I rotate the 3D model. There's a sigil here that I don't even recognize. I don't think, by all means, this was manufactured by House Baldor, but I don't think this is a House Baldor vessel anymore.
I say we move on.
Something doesn't seem right.
So, I'd like to point to the sigil. Can anyone make heads or tails of that?
Could I make a would a culture check be able to identify this, or would it be a different check?
I would say anybody who wishes, except for... Actually, no. I would say anyone who wishes can make an intelligence check.
Okay.
Ooh.
Ooh, my
Yeah.
intelligence is not very good, actually.
I have flat intelligence. I will try.
So do I.
So do I.
Oh,
So,
you know what? I'm going to spend. Should I spend my one day?
No. Look what Tim
No.
Tom rolled.
Alright. Fair enough. I'll let Tim Tom.
We're all fucking brainlets except Tim Tom.
something kind of strikes you, Timothy. You've seen this sigil before. Matter of fact, in your personal opinion, everyone has seen this sigil before. It's the same mark that was defacing the keep that you had explored, the Parandor Keep.
Oh.
The same one that had desecrated that fortress. And you get a sense that
Anarchy.
whatever forces attacked the Parandor Keep are currently occupying this vessel.
What? Fuck! What? Anarchy or something like
Anarchy's reign.
Anarchy's reign, yeah.
that? Tim, you just hear Tim Tom simply mutter, "Anarchy's reign."
I look at this vessel for a while and it clicks in my head. Retrofitted House Baldor technology, new sigil. That adds up. Holy shit, you're right.
Leave it alone to. Ooh, not
If we were gonna
cussing.
do Volknir any kind of honor, we should blow that thing out of the echo.
do we even have the resources to do that?
So Zacharias kind of crosses his arms, considering that this was the force that destroyed his family's home. And he seems to get a real serious look about him. If we were in a warship, we could take them on. The only offensive action we could take against them would be boarding action. But something tells me that that might be suicidal.
Very, very risky in this kind of
In
environment.
any other circumstance, I would want to take these people on to restore any kind of honor to my people.
Well, maybe the best thing we can do is leave them to their fate.
They are already stuck here, are they not? Or are they moving?
They are moving.
But they're sending out a distress signal, so clearly something's wrong.
Or
They're
it's a
just
trap.
registering an IFF trap. Or not a trap, an IFF tag.
Oh, my mistake.
It is very rare for ships to pass by each other within the echo. So this in itself is an occurrence.
That's how they found me.
Well, technically your ship left the Echo for a second and hit ours.
I'm sorry, I was asleep at the wheel.
Who says you're at the wheel?
Sleeping and falling asleep while driving is a serious epidemic. Causes a lot of crashes on an annual basis.
I should stop trying to be funny.
I enjoyed the joke.
It was a joke.
He was... Yeah.
Arthur's just gonna wave his hand. Either way, it sounds like we're not geared for a fight.
Not at all.
I think we should probably take our chances and slip away while we have the opportunity.
He just kind of
Agreed.
gives a nod.
Agreed.
Wish we could do more, but we're going to have to let them go.
For now.
So with that, the decision is made. Zacharias has to disappear to relay these orders to the jump ship's captain. Because as far as you're aware, when everybody's traveling together like this, it's kind of a cooperative effort to inform and basically involve everybody else in your decision making. So the choice is made to leave this ship alone and leave it drifting. And with that, more days pass. Matter of fact, 4 more days pass. It is now day 13
Out of 17.
of 17.
So
Give it
Yari's
up
just
for
gonna...
day 13!
So Yari just gonna spend his last day making sure all the repairs are properly done to the war machine.
Yeah, you've
And-
basically taken it apart and putting it back together multiple times.
Basically making sure that nothing that Tim Tom did permanently damaged.
Yeah, and Tim Tom currently is just pacing down a hallway back and forth, rubbing the back
Vaku's
of
just
his
doing
neck.
his damnedest to be well rested.
Withdrawals are starting to hit him pretty hard.
Karth is interspersing sessions of meditation with trying to be a helpful body on the ship, aside from what he considers keeping everyone alive and unpossessed.
Fair enough. So, you go ahead and just keep conducting your affairs. Nothing much happens.
Hey, here's a good question. Does the tapping continue?
After this point, it has started to recede and has now disappeared completely.
I'm actually going to contact Aspect and make sure she's still around.
So I imagine that you go ahead and just simply ask, and a bit more lively than you were expecting, almost as if it's always just been there, listening. Completely responds to in a normal tone, just going, "Hey."
Just figured I'd check and make sure you're holding up all right. It's
No, I'm doing just fine.
been a while
For
since we've
asking, no.
heard from you.
I've been doing what I can to get by.
As we all are. Alright, well, we're here if you need us.
If there was any way to nod immaterially, it would.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure that
Fair
nothing
enough.
weird was going on with Aspect. Because there have been some weird things going on the past few days.
Think she had anything to do with that thing that tried to get in?
You can always ask her. I mean, we can all talk with her.
I think that's what I'll ask her. Hey, Aspect. You know that thing that got on the ship a few days ago? It's still lurking outside. You wouldn't happen to have anything to do with that, would you?
Well, that was pretty spooky, wasn't it?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately, I didn't have anything to do with that. Although to keep you guys on your feet, I certainly would do more.
Oh.
Why is it the
I
tone that
fucking love Aspect so much.
why is it I got the tone of, hey Alexa, are you trying to prank us with interdimensional horrors?
I would if I could.
I would if I could.
Were it possible?
It's possible I would prank the fuck out of you. But unfortunately, I cannot.
Psyoped by the DMPC.
So, you all continue for 2 extra days, now only having 2 days left. You're at day 15. Give it up for day 15.
I wonder if there are any pretzels on this ship.
As it drones by, all of you guys are simply ready for all of this to be over with. You keep catching things in the corner of your vision,
What's the
still hearing
here's a question. You've said I've lived on Navy vessels before. What's the
Mhm.
longest I've been in transit? Outside of accidentally getting frozen for almost 2,000 years.
Probably the longest departure you have ever been on was actually a similar echo dispute where the navigation software that was bringing you through, like the entire storm, was starting to act up. You have been trapped on a vessel for nearly half a year at one point.
Okay, this trip does not bother me that much.
It's worth mentioning that Concordian FTL travel back then was a bit more primitive, so journeys took a bit longer.
Just to keep myself entertained, I will tell anyone who I'll tell anyone who looked particularly bored that story of how I was fucking trapped on a ship that I didn't mean to be trapped on for half a year. We should be grateful that fucking it's gone this smooth.
Back in my day,
Back in my day!
Back in your day, it was the crew that was at each other's throats,
Yeah.
not interdimensional weird shit.
Exactly.
Tim Tom's just sitting there listening to you. Like, just, you're old, right?
Well, chronologically, yes.
Cool. I am incredibly bored. 447. I
Well,
have dismantled
maybe
the
if you
door.
listen to Old Man Centurion's ghost stories, you'll be a little less bored.
Ooh, ghost stories.
Where the fuck are you guys having this conversation at?
Probably the lounge.
Just the lounge.
Tim Tom is just sitting there. It's like, I think I've had enough of ghost stories for one trip.
Well,
I already heard the
I was
horror
about to
of
say.
things knocking on the hull and things trying to
of
get
course,
in.
Of course, Doctor, you're living one now.
And yeah, exactly. We are living one. We have this weird spooky thing that likes to keep us alive for some reason. I don't know how I feel about that. And now everything wants us dead, and I don't know what to do.
Well, maybe you keep drinking your coffee.
You best start believing in ghost stories.
Tim Tom kind of
You're in one.
sits there like with his coffee. This is my 5th pot of coffee, and it's not doing what it used to.
After hearing you say this is your 5th pot of coffee, okay, maybe you stop drinking your coffee.
Tim Tom just like sits there, like, look, I'm getting these tinglies underneath my skin.
That's probably the coffee.
No, No, even when I don't drink the coffee.
Well, it takes a while to get out of your system. You'll probably still be tingling even after you stopped, at least for a while.
I'm just kind of sitting there like, look,
You're a
everything
doctor,
is.
shouldn't you know that?
You don't know. Maybe. I've never drank caffeinated beverages before.
I have rarely had one, and the last time I did, I couldn't even remember.
Nobody let this man find out about Irish coffee. You'll never get him away from it.
What?
Oh no.
No. What's Irish coffee?
Don't worry, kid. You'll find out when you're older.
Oh,
And so Tim was like, yeah, well, we live in a ghost story, in a political drama,
Look,
and
Day-
arguably in a nightmare.
I kind of look up towards the ceiling. Day 15, right? We've only got...
Woo! Give it up for day 15! And Tim Tom just screams at a table.
Oh god.
We have 2 more days left in transit. I think you can hold it together for that long.
I imagine one of the technicians is searching through the cupboards right now, like opening it up and looking for something before he pokes his head out and just goes, "Who drank all the coffee?"
I scoot away from the table.
Tim,
I barely have any idea.
I just
Wait.
disrespectfully just skulk away. We just all leave Tim Tom alone.
No, I'm not leaving the room. I'm just distancing myself to try to single Tim Tom out as the coffee
Yeah.
drinker.
Does Tim Tom have like the empty pot of coffee in front of him?
It
Yeah.
still has the empty pot.
Like, I can imagine the technician looking at Tim Tom and like you can see his eye fucking twitch and dilate.
What the fuck?
Tim Tom looks at this guy. I'm sorry.
You do realize that I'm the one that handles the restocking, right?
Oh.
How did you go through that much coffee?
He
I've
is a bear.
I've
He
been
is a
drinking
bear.
8 to 12 pots of coffee a day.
Are you okay?
He is not.
He is not, he says.
Oh my god.
You okay? Tim Tom kind of
He
looks
is
at him
not.
with this look of, I'm really not.
Kind of closes the cupboard and just turns around and walks away.
Look, Doctor, I don't know how your military career went, but I've already told you about how I was trapped on a ship in transit for 6 months. How often did you have to travel? And for how long?
The longest I ever had to travel was a month and a half, and it was absolutely terrible.
So you've always been this way.
I do not take this very well. No.
Alright. Well, I wish I could tell you how to cope with it, but it's never really bothered me that much. It's the kind of thing I learned to get used to.
Well, I
So
wish I could get used to it.
at this moment, the intercom clicks into place. It flashes for just a little bit, and you hear the sounds that we are preparing for another echo translation. So please be ready in about 7 hours.
Alright. Yarish is going.
We're getting out of the echo now.
It appears to be that way, yes.
And look,
Yarish is going to
then
prepare
looks like
his...
the next 2 days of transit are going to be sunlight, so if that puts you at ease anymore.
Yarish is going to prepare a setup to scan the echo as we leave it.
I know it's been hard on you, Doctor, but it's been hard for all of us, too. We're in this together.
Well, you're right. We are in this together. Because we have no choice.
You're not wrong.
I just hope that whatever adventure we're going on isn't going to wind up with us on a slab getting vivisected, getting captured and thrown into God knows where, or something along those lines, and I hope we can get this problem with your former I apologize for saying this, but this is a observation of my own. The former bitch of your former companion, and get this sorted out because I don't want to live the rest of my life as a treasonous traitor who started a war and resulted in the deaths of millions,
What do you
regardless if I did it or not.
What do you mean, former bitch?
Well,
Does
well,
that imply she's gotten better recently?
I don't know. I said your former bitch of a partner.
Uh, I had many questions for her.
Yeah, I do too. And I hope when we find her, she fixes the problem and doesn't flake out on us. Because, yeah.
She's not on our side.
Oh, of course not. Absolutely. I fully understand that. And to be honest, I am I am fully expecting next time we see her for it to be a lethal encounter.
That's why we're going to have to make sure we don't see her anytime soon. We're not ready for that. Maybe if I was even half of what I once was, I'd have a chance, but now...
And people wonder why I drink. And Tim Tom picks up the empty
No,
coffee
Doctor,
pot.
I don't wonder why. I know precisely why.
Tim Tom looks at the empty coffee pot, looks at the countless bags of like empty coffee
Silver
ground.
foil wrappings that have just been emptied.
Tim Tom's face slams into the table.
So,
We gotta
about
find you something to do.
7 hours pass. And as promised, Tyler, Yarich keeps track of the weird energy fluctuations as you hear the sound of the deep reverberations that you've been basically living with for the better part of 17 days. Well, not 17, 15 days. Begin to wind back up similarly as to how it first did. And similarly to your first encounter, there's the sound of the snapping of air inside of the cabin as if everything were making some kind of violent transition. And then it begins to wind down and down until eventually, instead of reaching a low base level, it completely disappears. And the intercom sparks up. Our echo translation has been completed. We are back in real space. You may feel free to come up to the bridge to get a nice view.
Yarich is
Arth
going to go
breathes
get
a
a nice view.
Yep, Karth breathes a sigh of relief, cleans the sigil off the wall, and goes up to the bridge.
You
I
know,
hope that tapping isn't still heard.
Doctor, the only time I've been in the bridge is when we were in the Echo. I think I want to go see some real space. Come on.
I'd like to get off this ship.
2 days, and besides, we're sublight now. Less to worry about.
Tim Tom, I guess, follows up to the bridge.
So, what you all would witness would be a spectacular view. By the time that you cross into the bridge and find that the shutters have been removed and now you are staring back into the starlit void, there is actually a marvelous new view. I mean, it's just the swirling gas giant of multiple different dusts flowing in wonderful different patterns. It's definitely a change from seeing just the stark, endless, repetitive metal of the starship hull, considering that you've been basically stuck with that for a month. Now getting to see this swirling gas giant just kind of immersed in its own atmosphere and environment. You see what almost seems to be a dark sphere on the other side of the planet, one of the moons that is being blotted out by the sun. And you can tell that you are looking at Castellum and its subsidiary gas giant. It is definitely a moment of fresh air for everybody on the bridge just to see something real again.
It's been a very long time since I've looked out of a viewport window and just seen space.
That's a rock, all right. As Karth kind of gestures towards Castellum off in the silhouette.
Been even
Yep.
longer since I've been
Be it a
on,
rock.
been even longer since I've been on a ship that actually worked.
Tom looks out. It's like, it's mostly black. I always thought space was depressing.
It's nothing much once you've seen it enough, but given the circumstances, it's a little bit reassuring.
As you
Yes.
all are witnessing this, the communications technician kind of looks up from her console and just goes, Zacharias? Yes. We're being hailed. It's a priority transmission. Showing Dominion tax. He simply says, bring it on screen. There is a sharp cutting sound as, very clearly something is grabbing hold of the comm system and making itself present. There is a short blaring of, horns as if to serenade the coming of a lord, before someone with a very sharp military tone basically cuts in and goes, I am Lord Francis Smith, Captain of the Tempest-Born, and you are trespassing. And that is where tonight's session will end.
Okay.
You only thought you were safe.
Oh, fuck.
No.
No rest for the wicked, it seems.